Yes, it is. It's a blue screen only at the moment because it's loading. This is an Amiga. It takes a while. So?
Some say fine, some say a little low.
Happy birthday, Egosoft.
So
I don't know whether it's actually our birthday today.
Finding which
It's blue screen.
That's fine.
actual date is probably hard to say.
When you registered the company.
I can see the chat, so...
Relatively speaking, then you're pretty quiet.
This is our first ever game. Slowly loading onto the stream. There we go.
Yeah. Hotel Detective is loading.
The year is
You want my
1988.
microphone to be louder, Owen. Tell me what you want.
I'm reading the chat. I'm going through it.
What?
And
You have a...
I'm messing with the sliders I have here.
Yeah, well, I can also put it, make it louder here. Anyway. I'll just wait.
And I love how everyone's audio is too loud, then turn it down a little more. It's about it.
Blue screen of death? No.
No.
Joe Handy,
no,
this is
don't
an
worry.
Amiga. It wouldn't have a blue screen of death. It would have like Guru Meditation.
Yeah.
It was called Guru Meditation, and it's black and has a really cool red logo. Can anybody hear me now or not?
Yep, they should be.
X Beyond Remastered. Some people have some pretty crazy ideas as to what's going on.
I don't
here
know.
today.
Maybe you can make the game silent for now. If that is a problem.
Isn't X Rebirth kind of
They are saying yes. Okay, great. Hello, everybody. So, welcome to our 30-year stream. I'm Bernd, and I'm sitting in the corner because we had to split the room, but maybe later we find a way to turn the camera a little bit. Here with me, you see half of the team roughly. We had a little barbecue before, and we are going to look at 30 years of history of our company and show the games that started the company when we were really only two people working on a game basically right from school, and everything in between that and the X series, and then also of course the X series, and maybe at the end also a little bit of the latest game of X4. And actually, I don't know if for those that were online already or were live already a little bit before we started the stream, I actually wanted to show people where we are here, because this is actually interesting is that camera even online?
Yeah, it should be now.
Yeah, but this is a short cable. This will not work. So we can't do that anymore. Well, anyway, then people will have to remember what they saw before next to the barbecue grill, because the funny thing is you can actually look from this floor here pretty far into the distance, and you can see three countries. You saw Belgium on the left side, Holland on the right side, and we have Germany in between. So you see also the Egosoft history, because the little town that you look at, right in the direction that the camera was facing first, is Kohlscheid, and that's where we originally had our offices. Because in 1990, when we started our office, we were in a little, formerly in a coal mine, which was turned into some kind of industrial new settlement for high-tech companies called TPH in Herzogenrath, to get mostly startup companies from the university. We were not such a thing, because we actually didn't even get to university. We didn't even get that far, because the guy Frank Küster, who founded Egosoft together with me, we worked already in school on this very first game, and that's the reason why we decided to have this celebration now, because that very first game we made still in school was already released in 1988, and we were just reminded of that a couple of days ago, and mostly it was Owen who looked it up on Wikipedia and got all of the facts, and
I got some hints from
who?
I got some hints from other people. I think Matthias brought it up in a meeting, and he was told by someone on Reddit or something. People have been waiting for this apparently.
It's actually scary how accurate Wikipedia is. And it has some things listed about our games that I completely forgot. So I was using it as a tool to research what we can show today and which game goes into which year, because those pretty obscure little advertisement games that we made, some of them are really, I even forgot the entire game, not to speak of the year in which they were made. But actually this one is pretty special because I cannot say I proudly remember it, because it isn't really a good game. It was, we were students and really we did that in school, and it's a really simple game. But for the same reason, it was made in school, and of course you remember it pretty well. Maybe I can actually play it a little bit if you put up the sound. But I was told already that maybe this is too extreme for Twitch, because it has naked women.
It may be a little on the explicit side for what Twitch usually allows.
Really?
Even in the 80s.
That is a problem. This game was this didn't get any censoring in 1988, and I don't know. It's a woman in a bikini, so if that's a problem for you.
No. She takes the bikini off.
No, you know
that's
what?
the issue.
She only takes the bikini off if you shoot her.
But they're pixelated.
Yeah, I was actually just randomly shooting on the screen. I will try to play better this time. So maybe you can put the sound up a little bit on the screen, and I will try to start a new game. You will see how super sophisticated this game is. I hope it's loading. Is it? It's silent. That's a good sign. It's loading. Well, it's a disc game, and it is running on an emulator, by the way. So for those who don't know this, the funny thing is this emulator is called UAE, which stands for Unusable Amiga Emulator, and that has a reason, because when it was first made in the, I guess, late 90s, I don't know when this even got possible to emulate an Amiga. Martin, I don't know, do you remember when the first time the UAE was made? Probably.
Yeah, well, after the Amiga, I think 90s or something.
Yeah, late 90s then. But I do definitely remember that it was unusable at the time because of the performance. Because the Amiga has a lot of custom chips which were not simply a CPU. It looks like the emulation is hanging. I will just start it again so you can see the whole.
While we're waiting for it to load, can I ask a young person question?
Can you?
What young person question?
When did the Amiga stop being a thing?
Martin, can you help me and say something about how great the Amiga is and why it's not great anymore?
I've heard that argument plenty of times.
It is. It was a great system.
I just know nothing about it because I grew up with a PC. What can I say? I'm sorry.
Right. I have to draw the disk image over and actually, hopefully, right, just, is it loading?
I know that I played my Amiga into the 90s still. I want to say 94 I got my first PC.
I was 2, so no wonder I don't remember it.
Yeah, no, I have that t-shirt that we wear in Florida in 93.
Amiga
DEFCON t-shirt, that's cool, I didn't see that. Show, this was in Florida. That was actually we should talk about that when we reach 1994, because we are still in 1988. And we see the blue screen again. So the game is loading now. As I said, it loads from disk, and everything is like original speed. So it loads with originally emulated disk speed. But
worst emulator.
Well, I think some emulators let you change that and put in a speed load option, but also some games don't like when you do that.
Sure.
Could very well be. We have. Do we have the sound on now? Because there's 2 really terrible sound effects. You can now listen to the first 2 sound effects that Egosoft ever did, and they are really terrible. The guy will now shoot, and the other guy will scream, and it's. I think it is Frank who screams, but it. Oh, and And that was it. That's a really, really dramatic scream. And unfortunately, you will hear all of those awful sound effects again when I play now.
Was that a ninja falling dead to the floor?
Yeah, one of the bad guys. The ninja is one of them.
So was the Wilhelm scream not a thing?
It might
Probably
actually
not.
not.
No, it would have been.
Oh,
Because Star
sure.
Wars
Yeah,
was
it is pretty. Yeah, it's way
Still
older,
loading.
but still.
Music. Okay, so let's see if I.
So we are looking at
I
our
think the
next
emulation is not working perfect because the music was running faster when the screen fades out. It's also a little bit hard to control with the mouse, but I guess you can. The game is not really complicated to explain. It's just doors opening and people standing in those doors, and you have to guess who are the bad guys and who are the good guys, and shoot the bad guys. The game also explains in one of those doors that you are not killing them. You have to be careful where to shoot because you should only stun them. And that's the trick with the bra of that lady, because depending on where you shoot, different things happen. So, I think there's a guy with a bottle of champagne, for example, the race driver, and he's one of the bad guys, and you always have to shoot the bottle, and it's not loading again. Why does it not work? I think the emulation has some problems.
Live demo, folks.
Yeah.
HD remaster.
In
No.
VR.
Pick one.
It's just
Do you want
slow.
Explore or do you want
VR.
Hotel Detective Remastered in
Okay.
VR?
There is an arrow at the bottom which shows me that there are still bad guys to my left. And I already trained this a little bit yesterday. That was the first time I played this game in 30 years. So I know now how to play it because it's really not easy. So now I know there's a bad guy in door number 2. It's not Alf. Superman's also not a bad guy. This is a bad guy. That was too slow, damn it. I thought I was fast. Okay. Jesus is also one of the good guys. There's a naked lady.
And there was another awesome sound effect.
Yeah, a lot of them. It's really awful. Also the... Ha! Now I got 2. Okay.
This is amazing.
Game design.
Yeah.
It's come along so much in 30 years.
Look at the parallax scrolling on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. The parallax scrolling is so cool.
X4 boarding gameplay?
I can't even respond to it. Poor innocent ninjas.
No problem. So
Do we know that Superman is a good guy?
No. Yes, I'm.
They
actually, when
weren't-
you get
they weren't
higher
sure.
levels, I definitely want to play it to at least one more level, so people see the dramatically different graphics.
what was that?
The bomb was bad.
Looked like a fine band.
That was really creepy. It was a good guy.
Yeah.
The guy in the trench coat.
No.
Ta-da! So there are of course also you are also not supposed to shoot good guys. If you do that, you get also you lose also levels, lives. So entering next floor, and now
So shooting
stay
bombs is a
tuned.
good
Now
thing to
everything
do.
will change. The game is dramatically different.
pancakes, huh?
When I remember that, I always thought the game really changed a lot because it was so much work to do back then. I mean, we really worked like a month on a new level. And when I look at it now, I think, why did it take us so long? Because
Wow.
all that changed.
Marble floor.
There's a pattern on the wall and
Twitch
doors.
check, just for the record, no, shooting a bomb is not a good thing to do in real life.
Yeah, it does look more like Captain Planet than Superman.
Ta-da! I got him just in time. Rambo is sometimes good, sometimes bad, so that's where it's getting worse. You have to wait when he. Oh no! I think Rambo is always bad, but in the next level he will sometimes not have a hand grenade in his hand, but actually a weight from a studio. So you have to look at the details.
Game design.
Yeah, so sophisticated.
Did you start on level 0? Because it says
Yes, that's also such a psychological effect. You feel even worse if you didn't even get to level 1. You know, I mean, if you would have started with level 1, you would have felt better, but no. Yeah. It's unusual in...
Actually, I just thought it was ground level, like any same country.
Yeah, I think we played it enough. It's it's not going to change an awful lot afterwards.
How many levels are there?
I think it repeats after the 4th one.
Okay.
But it gets harder. It is the same graphics. It's so much work, I can tell you. But
did we design New Game Plus for the first time 30 years ago?
So?
Is that what you're describing? New Game Plus mode?
You mean no? It was like an arcade game, you know, like in Donkey Kong. You had 4 levels, and after the 4th level, you get to the first one again, but it's just harder.
Ladies and gentlemen, a young person.
I never played Donkey Kong. Sorry.
No, any arcade game. Most arcade games were like that. Miss Pac-Man, for example.
Something killed screen in the end, where you basically won by getting to level 97 or something.
Oh, like Donkey Kong, which unintentional ends. Donkey Kong, I think, has 99 levels and then it crashes, or 255.
In Pac-Man,
he also
the last level is just corruption, and you have like half a level that you can play around in, but the memory just ends, so it's just garbage after that.
Yeah, so here's a task to the people in the chat. If you get to play Hotel Detective, try what's the last level. I would really be curious. And it's not easy. It's really getting harder when you play longer. So that was Hotel Detective, and it is released in 1988. And the thing is, we were really still in school when we did this game, and I remember that I called a game publishing company, a really small company somewhere, and tried to sell it, and was super surprised when I had to send the disc. They played it, and then they sent me a letter and offered us money for it, and we were so surprised. We were so happy. It was of course, it was just that simple. We just get a one-time fee and that's it. We lost the game and no rights. I'm probably even get sued for just showing it today, because probably somebody else owns it now.
Twitch asked if you made money, so the answer is yes, you made money.
Yes, we made money, and we were super surprised, and our parents were even more surprised that we could actually make money with this playing around.
Do we know the amount? How much roundabout was it?
Yes, it was exactly 10,000 marks, D-mark.
10,000 marks.
And that was an awful lot of money for us.
5,000 euros.
And it was the start capital for our company.
Nice.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this was before we actually founded a company, obviously, because we were still in school, as I said, and that remained a little bit like that, because until we really only started a company in 1990. I remember that date because I have some pictures of the actual opening party. I can show that. Wait. This. Can you? Oh wait, I can jump back. You can also see Frank on these pictures here. I have invited him to come over here. I don't know. Maybe he manages to. This would be really nice. I haven't had much contact with him for the last couple of years, but just managed to get in touch with him again. Yeah, here's me in front of an Amiga, and here's our guests for the opening party, mostly family and friends, and and my mother with some, doing the catering for the guests. We got this is how it was. We were in this little technology park in Herzogenrath, as I said, and this is where we stayed then for the first 10 years, basically, from 1990 to 2000. I think 2000 we moved to Baden-Berg, where we are now, and so these are our offices for the first 10 years. I just yesterday actually found a virtual tour through our old office. I don't know if you remember, Martin. We made here, see, this picture is cool. This is the building. It's the background may be slightly photoshopped, and the big logo at the top may be slightly photoshopped as well. But our offices were down here.
Did Photoshop even exist at that time?
I don't know. I mean, on this picture is Martin, so it was after 1993 or 4. When did you start? 93, right? So at the time, did we already work also with PCs? I mean, Photoshop clearly didn't exist on the Amiga. What we had on the Amiga was D-Paint, Deluxe Paint. That was much better than Photoshop, of course. Yeah, everything on the Amiga was much better. And that really was our attitude for that time, because it was, compared to what the PC used to be back then, it was really true. Because it was DOS, there was no Windows yet, or if there was Windows, it was Windows 3.0 or even Windows 1 point something. It was really terrible compared to the Amiga user interface, which was already a 32-bit computer and had a better operating system, more memory, and yeah, overall was better with its. It's a little bit like a mixture between a computer and a video game console, you can say, because it has this dedicated hardware for things like line programming, which is typical for game consoles. That's actually the reason why the early game consoles were so much faster at video games than proper computers, that they had this line programming, where basically where you could program the behavior of the computer based on the screen line rendering. Like yeah, on the Amiga this was called copper. Glitter. Yeah.
And sprites, of course.
And sprites, yeah, but it's all based on that idea that you do something in sync with the screen and basically program it with that. It's like the first device that I know of that really did that was the Atari VCS, which is basically nothing but programmed code for lines, and you could only change the color of your trace. I don't know how many times per scan row, and that is why the graphics were so ugly. But it's of course much more efficient than a proper computer. Anyway, yeah. So this is. Oops. Is there anything else? Oh wait. No. Oh, it's much longer than I thought. Wait. Oh, here you see Alex, who is unfortunately not with us today here, because he's currently sick. Yeah, he broke a foot, I think 3 times, and his hand, unfortunately, with driving by bike home 2 weeks ago, no, 3 weeks ago already. And so I hope he's maybe watching the stream now. Hello, Alex, in case you see us. And this is one of the first 3D models he's doing here. I think this is one of the very early preparations for Starlight 1, where we actually made 3D models on millimeter paper. This was before any 3D software, and there were actual drawings of those first spaceships on millimeter paper, and Alex had to transfer it into numbers. So, Lino, this is how this is how you learn it the hard way. Yeah, that's it. Oh, see this thing here? Do you remember that, Martin?
Yeah. That's the
exactly.
Classes.
This is like the grandfather of Oculus Rift and Vive. It wasn't it was already a headset with motion tracking. It did have also
bad motion tracking, and that's the reason why it never really succeeded.
The main difference is, I mean, if people look at that and compare it to nowadays, they will probably first note the different screen resolution, and that it is of course not spanning the width of the field of view as good as the modern devices. But actually, the bigger difference is the latency. Because I think that is what really made it not work back at the time. That you had a much longer latency, and when you move your head, I don't know how many milliseconds it took, but it made you feel really bad, and that's what was really improved only recently.
It's smaller than a window.
Yeah, and it was the funny thing is we made a little demo with that, with a prototype of what later turned into X. We called it Starlight 1 on the Amiga. But it's not true that it turned into X, because it was a very different game. It was much simpler. I think I can show a couple of pictures from how it looked actually, but it was a space game and it had vector graphics. So in that regard, it is a little bit the predecessor. It was never released, but we experimented with making that possible for these glasses, because they were sold by the same company that owned Commodore rights for a while in Germany. That was Escom, right? In Frankfurt. That's actually after Commodore went, the mother company of the Amiga went bankrupt for the first time, and they had this idea to really sell Amiga with these 3D glasses and wanted to make that a big thing, and they were looking for content. So we made that, and unfortunately it all didn't work out. The hardware was just way too expensive, and the Amiga was also unfortunately doomed to fail a little later, because that was really when games on DOS and mostly on DOS, not yet on Windows, took off. So yeah.
I have to say that some of the hardware was giving me nostalgia.
What?
You see the Elsa graphics card.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the days.
What? My monitor wants to turn off. No.
Yeah, I think this was also the reason for the PC getting better and better. This laser display modes, with high color, true color modes, and
the graphic cards.
Oh yeah, there's really bad echo when you're talking.
Martin, wenn du reden willst, kommst du näher, aber wenn du nicht, warte momentan, wenn du so weiter bist.
It sounds kinda cool, but hard to understand.
Maybe you talk now, because maybe my microphone is turned off. It's better.
No, I just wanted to mention why I think the PC really took off at that time, and that was because it had the better graphics, starting with true color modes, and also of course the 3D cards that were coming, and yeah.
Yeah, this is so really obviously this is a time when we were working with Amiga and PC. Okay, so I'm actually getting ahead of myself here with this show. So I will go back to some games first, because I just turned my microphone back on.
Sorry guys. Oh, what did you do? You didn't do anything.
I just turned it off and on again.
Yeah, it was super loud and
Sorry.
overdrive. Professional. Yeah.
I can put it down a little bit. Now it works. That was loud. Oh, I'm sorry. I just turned my microphone off because
it's better now.
That helps with the echo, I guess. Okay, so after Hotel Detective, 1990, we had an office, and now we were working on our first real game as a company, and maybe I can show that as well. It's a little bit hard because this will require several discs, and let me try, but maybe Martin. You guys, you can say a little bit about what you were doing in 1990 at the time, because
I was not yet even born.
I also wasn't born.
I just got into school.
I was changing schools.
I was in school.
yeah, I think I also just changing schools.
And playing a lot of other games.
So, 3 Disketten. Ja. Jetzt muss ich den ganzen Mist essen.
We got that far in the process.
So.
Let's hang on your capture.
Not yet. In a moment.
I think in 1990 I had the year that I bought an Amiga.
Hopefully it's loading.
I owned it for half a year, then I realized that it was a huge mistake by Amiga because Amiga was dying and PC was taking over.
Which year did you buy an Amiga?
I think it was 1990.
1990?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't a bad time to buy an Amiga. Hey, that's when we just started making games. Oh, well, 1 year later.
I managed to convince a friend from school that it's the greatest thing ever. Sold it off to him just to buy a PC the next day.
It's not
You're a good friend.
That's one way to describe
Do
it.
something together.
I'm not sure if it's loading. Yeah, Fecal Heritage is a bit problematic.
250 megabyte. Oh, I'm never gonna fit it.
The airflow makes it comfy for us, but it's actually messing a bit with the audio quality, so maybe...
Owen, can you turn on the thing again?
We do, in fairness, chat, yes, we do have more microphones active at the same time so that we can...
So this is now unfortunately not the game live because it's a little bit hard to get it to run. I did actually get to run it on my MacBook here with the emulator, but now well, I don't know. Actually, I thought on my Windows PC it must run better because it's much faster, but it was well, I don't know. It's so many settings. What you saw here before was already the packaging. The funny thing is it's awful. I know the packaging is awful. Maybe you guys can show though how small it is. If holding the camera. So this here, where am I? Here. This is how the game looks. And the funny thing is that we made everything ourselves. With this game, we programmed it. We worked with an advertisement agency because this thing is like 50% advertisement and 50% a proper game. Because we needed some funding, and they worked together with a company that wanted to get their advertisements into a game and thought that's a great idea. So it was a commercial game, but basically with product placement. But the commercial sale we did entirely ourselves. We copied the discs ourselves. Even worse, we built a machine to copy the discs ourselves, which is the reason why the company was originally also not just called Egosoft, but Egosoft und Hardware, because we built hardware, which was basically a little robot that just ejected discs. It was basically a magazine with 100 discs and connected to an Amiga. And it had a disk drive with this mechanism to exchange disks, and yeah, we let it run overnight, and the next morning we had 100 copied disks lying on the floor, and that's what we did basically day in and day out. And the game has 3 discs, by the way, so this was 3 days at least for 100 games. And then we also boxed it. We printed these things were printed by Frank's brother, who has a wie heißt eine Druckerei? Yeah. Printing shop nearby, and we made manual everything ourselves. And the only thing that was later done by professionals was shrink wrapping it in plastic so it can be sold in actual department stores. And we got to sell it to Karstadt. I think that was our big success when we got Karstadt to order, I don't know, for 500 or something, but that was huge for us. We really got it, and that means we at that time, by today's definition, we were developer, publisher, and distributor. Because we directly sold to a large German supermarket or department store, which is something you wouldn't even be able to do later, because all of those larger markets had basically exclusive deals with the large names like EA or whatever. So yeah, we were probably a bit lucky with that. Let's can we bring up the show again?
Yeah.
It has a couple of pictures so people see what kind of game we are talking about. Oh, and without sound. I take the sound away because I think this is with German sound. So this is a point-and-click adventure. You are this hip guy because, yeah, as I said, it had something to do with advertisement, and the advertisement agency wanted us. This is basically the only feature we had to add for them was you are not just playing yourself through this adventure, but you had a partner, and you could choose that. So the advertisement agency gave us profiles with different people. Oh, this is the machine. This is now it's now rusting away, but actually not rusting because it's made from aluminium, but it's collecting dust literally, as you can see in the basement. This is just the leftover of it. But here did the discs go, and this is still the remains of a disk drive, and it's a little bit of a sad thing seeing it there. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a point-and-click adventure, really simple, not very sophisticated. And you travel around the world. It's called Fatal Heritage because you inherit something in the beginning of the game. Then there's of course a mystery, and you have to travel around the world to solve the mystery. And I think that's it. There's not much more to it. The cover is only ugly if you see it up close. It's okay if you see it like this. Okay.
It's back to my working space in like Ina 0, like the full size post office next to me, so every time I turn right I see that. Good inspiration.
I don't know where I have it. I'm pretty sure somewhere in our basement we still have the original painting because this one was not painted.
It's on my wall. The painting is on my wall, the original.
This one?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I did so we framed it.
Yeah.
Did you look at the detail?
Yes, I saw
So artistic opinion about it.
I always have the original Project 1 poster in front of me.
I think Project 1 isn't even on my list. Project 1 was a game, I don't know in which year. Does it say on Wikipedia? Let me check. I have to check Wikipedia. Project 1. No. It doesn't list Project 1 on Wikipedia. I would have... how can I find out? My email history, unfortunately, doesn't go back far enough. And we probably didn't communicate by email at the time. I really have to ask some people. Anyway, it was a pretty cool game. It was a rip-off, a clone of River Raid, a game for the Atari game, but with much better graphics. Pretty nice thing. You go up in the beginning you go up a river with a boat, and later it's always the same principle. It's a vertical scrolling shooting game, and it was fun. And we did it for a disc magazine, which were a thing at the time. We had Amiga discs bundled with a magazine, which were at least popular in Germany. I don't know about other countries, but they had pretty significant numbers, like, I don't know, 10, 20,000 sold for a decent price. So. But the next game I have on my list is actually Ook from 1992, which is pretty cool, and we can play it online. I will just first maybe show a little bit. Owen, can you show this? This is. So this is the box and some images of the game. And I have to turn down the sound again. Yeah.
There's even an Easter egg of this game in River on a gaming console in the interior somewhere.
Sorry. I will try to run the game now. Hopefully. Yeah. With more luck.
Yeah, it's beyond.
Yeah. I mean, they're on the roll. Right?
Ja. Jemand im Chat hatte das Spiel sogar. Wow.
Du hast das bestimmt gekauft, nicht wahr, Matthias? Das haben wir jetzt nichts zu. Jetzt wird es ja Ärger kriegen hier. So wie das beim Amiga damals war. Die Leute haben alle die Spiele gekauft. Ich finde das jetzt... Macht jetzt was? Could it be that my PC is overheating as well and is getting slower? Doesn't really seem to react to the disk. Sorry. Yeah, but that's not the thing. It's not about the frame rate. It's another try. Book.
Has the meeting.
Damn it. I was so looking forward to play this. Matthias, tell us what you remember of Ook, what it was.
I'm gonna try not to compare it with that other game, that is kind of distant game. You are a caveman who has a...
Where is the mic?
You are a caveman who has a flying taxi that is propelled by your legs, a kind of Flintstone leg. There are other cavemen that want to go to different places and you have to fly your taxi close to them. They get in, tell you where they want to go, and you bring them there and then they are happy. And you kind of do that all over.
And? Was it good?
I had fun.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. It had cool animations, cool style.
Yeah.
Why is there a baseball cap on the mic? It's not a baseball cap.
Did you just make a video in there?
Did I?
It looked like it.
Oh, wait.
It is echoes, so, yeah.
It's
not
too
just
big.
echo, it's all... This really may not be sponsored
Okay,
by
now
Computer
put it on screen. I had two UAE running at the same time.
We could try
This time with sound, please.
It's currently circular.
Okay, so we are in 1992, and this is good. And we have. Did we have a different logo? I'm not even sure. I think the game. No, I think it was the same one in Fatal Heritage, but yeah. The music is cool. The animation is cool. This was mostly done by two friends of ours from Ulm, exactly where Martin comes from. Bjorn Roy and Thomas Klinger. I actually asked Bjorn if he could join us today as well, but unfortunately he didn't react yet. I don't know. He is. I think he visited us the last time 10 years ago. Didn't really stay in this kind of business. I think he works for Mercedes-Benz nowadays. But I don't know, Martin, do you know what Thomas does? Because he was a really talented graphic artist.
He was also going to Daimler-Benz.
Daimler-Benz, okay. Yeah, I think that's probably... Everybody who lives in Ulm goes there, right? Yeah. Okay.
And those loading times.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is it ready?
Oh, sorry. Sorry? No, that's water, of course. In the level, the water level plays an important role in the game. It's part of the level design.
I'm not sure.
So?
I'm not sure I got that far. maybe I just don't remember.
It's really nice because later levels you have to play a lot with using the water to get under objects. Like you can dive with your little. Well, I have to show it. Not just say, but show don't tell. Okay. These emulators are really cool. I can play with a gamepad. This is a joystick game, and it worked right from the start with a gamepad. So here's the Mr. What's his name? Sleeping under a tree, and then he has his Newton moment, and has the idea to build his caveman taxi. Music by Rudolf Stember. I don't know if I showed the intro far enough where the here, yeah, now his wife comes and she wants the diamonds and the ring and he has to impress her. So what's the solution? Make money with your caveman taxi. So here you go. No money. Do-do-do-dum-do-dum. Yeah, I think most of those words were pretty inspired by Monty Python later. He had, I think Björn and Thomas had a big love for Monty Python. And
everyone at that time.
Okay, so he tells me he wants to get to level 3. It's all about time. You have to be quick here. And the first game mechanic is of course just bringing people from A to B, and then I cannot see far enough down here to see. You can get a multiplier, and you can pick up this stone and drop it on the tree, and that gives you an apple, and that gives you new energy.
Oh, secrets.
No, that's not a secret. That's necessary to win, because there's lots of levels where you will run out. What did he say? 3 or 2? Good, 3. This guy wants to 2. So this is straightforward, the normal game mechanic, and then later it gets tricky. You get they play with with obstacles that you can't get around, or as I said, you later have to dive with your little space taxi. No, I didn't.
And what maybe doesn't come across super well when just watching gameplay, this has kind of has physics. So you're accelerating downwards,
yes,
and you are basically pushing up to decelerate again, or also fly up. You also, of course, don't want to be too slow. So you want to start decelerating at exactly the correct time.
Yeah, it feels like it has proper physics, at least for the time. Oh, I forgot to.
Is it cut off a bit at the bottom?
Sorry?
Is it cut off a bit at the bottom?
Yes, also for me, but
okay.
that's the full screen resolution problem. Oh no, I didn't check where she wants to go. Was it 1? I'm lucky. And you see, you have enemies now. The little flying dinosaur. Ooh. Okay, I was too fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a really fun game. If you get a chance, I don't know if I can say that it's okay to download it, because I really don't know. Because the problem with these kind of old games is that the rights are usually distributed between dozens of people. We don't own it anymore. The publisher probably doesn't. The company that we sold it to at the time was Blue Byte, and they sold it under a different label. Blue Byte was later bought by Ubisoft. So we did check for a while because somebody wanted to make a mobile game version of it. And we wanted to find out what the legal situation is, and it's too complicated. So yeah, I think if you find an image of that for an emulator, there's probably nobody going to blame you, and you can try it out. That's I don't know if it's legal, even if we say it's legal, which we do, which I would do, but and I'm pretty sure Bjorn would do as well. Okay. What was next? We are in 1992, and then then came our next big game, the real the sequel. You cannot say it's a sequel, but it was our second adventure, and for us the first proper release after Fatal Heritage, which we just did ourselves, and the first game that we actually sold to a major publisher, which was called Rainbow Arts at the time and was big in Germany. Let's see if I have some screens of it. This is Flies, and it would be. This is unfortunately only our version of the cover. Our publisher had the idea to make a much better cover. Where's the camera? Do we see the camera?
Yeah, I think on the.
This was the cover that our publisher came up with. This was the vision versus reality. Unfortunately, we made this cover and actually brought it to the publisher as a complete design and wanted him to just print that on the box. And obviously it was inspired by aliens, and we wanted flies to be scary. And I think the artist at the publisher just took a fly and put it on the scanner and put it on the box. It's a bit sad, but yeah.
Chat asks just how much development time are we talking about with these games?
Yeah, very different. Now we are talking the commercial games. So this is basically for us at the time was always only a side project, because mainly we were working on advertisement games to make money, because with those commercial games we didn't really make a dime. They I don't know, they sold a few thousand copies, but that was never enough to really live from. So in parallel we were making advertisement games, and I was hoping I could show a few of those, but Flies is our first dive into the science fiction territory. So I was actually I would like to show the intro for it, because it is like it has a couple of firsts for us. It has our first space scene with a spaceship and an asteroid. So I will try. Maybe you guys can think again about where you were in 1993 while I try to fight with the emulator. But it would be cool if it runs.
When in 1993 are we talking? Do we know?
What month, Bernd?
Oh, I would have to look it up in Wikipedia. What does it say? Wikipedia? 1993, Flies Attack on Earth. It doesn't say anything. I'm sorry, and I really don't remember.
I was either in Berlin or somewhere in Yorkshire, and I was warm, so I remember none of it.
No. Floppy drives. And how many discs?
Too long ago indeed.
Flies, disc 1.
Nice username. Okay,
I wasn't even an idea in 1993. More young people coming in. Yeah.
Okay. I'm. Wait. Is it doing something? It looks like it. Just wait a moment. What else?
Live capturing it all. Nice.
What?
Shit! The guys can't see this.
What?
It's not on stream.
Yeah.
Show this message for a moment, just to see where my problem is. This is a guru meditation, but this is not the normal guru meditation because oh wait, I have to make it like this to see to get the. No, just
some who's back. Okay.
yeah, it's just.
Thumbnail is covering part of the message. Or
it says the intro for Flies cannot be shown because the machine ran out of graphic memory. So this is now the virtual machine. The Amiga actually ran out of graphic memory because I made the mistake of connecting virtually 4 disk drives to it, and each disk drive takes a little bit of its graphic memory, and I was running it on the smallest machine virtually, the Amiga 500. So wait a moment, and I will try again. Can you switch the screen again, Owen?
Yep.
I have to give it another try. With a larger machine this time. Let's try.
93 was when I switched from Amiga to PC. And the game that got me to switch was Day of the Tentacle, because that was the first LucasArts adventure that didn't come out on Amiga as well.
No. Can I just give it more memory somewhere?
I could not play a LucasArts adventure.
RAM? Oh, I can just simply slide up the memory. Ah, that's cool. Now I give it more chip memory and more slow memory. Cool. Okay, that sounds easy.
I had the first version of 3D Studio. It was out. Yeah, it was still a DOS program, if I remember correctly. It had a graphic. It wasn't Adobe.
Just a moment.
Sorry, yeah. It has a different name at this time. Was it Discrete or something? Discrete, I think, yes. And it was called Untitled Studio.
Ich vergessen.
Because it wasn't Max, it could still grow.
And it had a hardware dongle with a caution. Yeah.
And without that was copy protection, right? Without it, it couldn't start.
93, I think I was playing Commander Key or something. Some version of it. Mute.
Sounds about right? Could be.
Doesn't ruin everybody's ear again.
Owen, once more with the stream.
Now you can turn it.
Yeah,
I can't see what you're talking about.
Can you turn the game on?
well,
Yeah.
We can't see the game on the screen.
It's a black screen at the moment. Okay. It's loading.
No.
Oh, right, you can see. That's what it is. It doesn't really work. The microphone on without blowing everybody's ear. The intro for an ego venture. Do you guys hear sound? Oh yeah, cool. So this game is about the end of the world, basically, and it's a time travel adventure. There's a scientist on Mars that has to. That's the only one surviving. A couple of scientists on Mars are the only ones surviving because everybody on Earth was killed by a virus spread by flies. And this is like the pre-story told here, and it's about an asteroid. It's all in German, and it was only sold in Germany, by the way. And it's as I said, it's our first space game. The asteroid, an alien space.
It looks cool.
Yeah, isn't it? I think we played around with scanning at the time already. I think this is done from photos or something, because it's a rotating object. That's so. I mean, this is of course nothing 3D. I don't know. I mean, I say of course, but these young people on the stream probably don't know that computers at the time didn't have this capability yet to do textured 3D graphics, at least. There was vector graphics like what we did with the early Starlight 1, which comes very soon. I think 1995. So it passes Mars, passes the Sun. The intro is pretty long.
Yeah, the scene transition actually made me laugh a bit. 6 days later, still good.
You as a physicist should know that that's realistic. You could also say 2 years later. Solar time. One day later. But wait, the absolute technical killer thing is when you will see the spaceship for the first time, because
Oh, another first start.
Stardust, and the spaceship actually goes into the depth of the screen. It has 3D movement when it zooms. And we were so proud of that zooming that we actually did this like 10 times in a row. You will see that now when we show the spaceship, it was just too much work to just show it once. So we have to show it like 5 times in a row. See? There's a spaceship. Oh no, not yet. First there's an asteroid hitting Earth. And parallax again. See?
Clouds don't have alpha channel.
That's going to say.
Alpha channels.
Even this alpha.
Quite a lot.
Again, I can only invite people to try out this game. The images in this case, I think people, I can say with a good conscience that it's okay to download the images if you find them online, and they are online because I happen to look it up. And you can play these games. Again, this is not, unfortunately, we cannot make them available simply on our own website. I would love to do that, but I'm not sure who owns the rights because we have these. At the time, it was still possible, and we did actually make stupid contracts that didn't have a time limitation. So we gave the rights to somebody, and that somebody still has rights. And know that somebody is owned by another company, and nobody cares about the rights anymore. But we can't do anything with it either. So that's really sad. And unfortunately, that's the reality for way too many games.
That company didn't end up being THQ Nordic.
Yes, no, not THQ Nordic, THQ. But THQ broke up into many pieces. I mean, it was Rainbow Arts was part of something called Rushware. Rushware was bought by THQ later, and THQ went bankrupt, broke up into pieces, and was bought by several people. So who bought those rights? I don't know. And because I'm sure in that bidding war over rights, I don't think the rights for Fly's Attack on Earth were really on the plate. I don't know. Yeah, see, it zooms, and it still zooms. It zooms past the planet even.
Like a proper Star Trek intro.
Yeah. And again.
Yeah, now I have that theme music stuck in my head as the ship flies past everything inside.
Welcome.
It even looks like it kind of looks like Klingon vessel.
Yeah, that's again. I'm playing from disk. Actually, it's possible to install on a hard drive, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. I know that it's possible with the later games. The ones for DOS for sure. We also, at this point, by the way, we already were working with DOS games as well. We made advertisement games, as I said. I can actually check Wikipedia again. This is now, we are in 1993. Catch-up Connection. Oh, 1993 is the year of Catch-up Connection. Martin, do you remember that? Yeah. I think this is when you joined us, and I think that was...
Yeah, it was also the birthday of KC, because it was like Catch-up Connection compiler.
Does anybody in the chat know what KC is? I mean now, what KC is in relation to the X games? Let's see if somebody does. But
Chat suddenly goes quiet.
I can tell that
well, we have to wait for chat to receive the question.
Yeah.
Psychro.
Yeah. I guess Psychro knows it. Yeah. Oh, maybe this is a good moment to.
And then Room as well.
Maybe Psychro knows to stay with me.
Okay.
Let's see. Where are you?
Only no KFC. Thanks, the actor.
CPJ apparently knows it too.
How strange. I only know it in relation to something that should never be. I don't know whether people have a worse memory of KC or the X3 version of MD. I don't know what I hear worse things about. Flies. They've come. They heard their calling.
If This game looks like a thing that 13-year-old me would have gone nuts for.
Chat says KC was X2, maybe explain where it came from.
Hi, Matt. Hello.
Usual Skype problems.
Hi. You said yes when we were asking about who knows KC. So maybe you talk a little bit about what KC is and what and then Martin can tell you where the name KC comes from. We hear a lot of traffic in the background. Are you in a car or something?
Well, basically, KC is the sort of language that the No, next to the window though, hang on.
Okay, I play the game a little bit in the meantime.
That looks really good for an Amiga game.
Yeah, just close the windows, I think.
Yeah. So I just let me introduce you quickly. This is Matt, also known as Psychro, and I think you work with us for a lot of years already, right? And was it X3TC the first time that you did work with us and for us? Ooh.
Yeah, it's TC, so it's like 2007, I think.
2007, and you worked with what we call KC, right? Matt? I think.
That's right, yes. I did a lot of the KC work for TC and for Albion Prelude as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so KC is a compiler language, and C, yeah, like the C language, and the K. The mystery was about the K. Do you have any idea what it stands for? Matt? Ooh.
I think that's a delay.
I think he must be on Mars.
Is he listening to us from the street?
Does it sound like ketchup code based on the game?
Oh, Matt, are you listening to us over the stream? Maybe you should better turn the stream off and listen to Skype directly. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. Luli luli. So I don't know if I did enough already. I would just.
King is alive.
No.
What are you even doing?
I was actually trying to use this scanner device here to. Can I go back?
Disintegrate the body.
To disintegrate the body, to get rid of the dead body. The story behind this is that you come from Mars. Maybe you've seen in the intro. I entered a time machine and a teleporter basically, and they sent me down to Earth, to this room where this Dr. Hunter, whatever he's called, just died. He just had a heart attack. Unfortunate guy. But we knew, because we were coming from the future, that he died that moment. So I'm here to replace him. But the first task I have is basically to dispose of his body. Because he's a doctor, he has this scanner device, which is like the super duper, can do everything medical device. Mm-hmm. And it can even dispose of a body if you like to. So you have to set it first.
That's
yeah. What's even cooler is on the other side of the room, you can move around the room with these arrows here. And on the other side of the room, there's a computer, which you can use. I have to show that. So here's, yeah. I think I have to, I don't know if I have all the things necessary to turn it on. So, Matt, can you still hear me? And now maybe without delay?
I can hear you.
Ah, great, that's better. I wanted to ask you, do you have any idea what KC stands for?
It's like ketchup code or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There was this adventure game we made for a food company, which was about a ketchup brand, and that was where the whole thing started with an actual actual compiled code, as opposed to what we are looking at, because Flies is completely scripted in C, I think. It was all in-game logic. We had this scripting system that I wrote, and KC was basically Martin's child. Maybe you can say something about that, Martin.
Yeah, it actually started as sort of like assembly language, and later for the X games then became sort of the C language type that we used then, and for the full compiler basically. So the actually compiled code was then executed by the game.
Oh, I'm booting the computer.
You still muted?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, there's flies too on it.
Okay, I booted the computer, the in-game computer. Now I need the mouse. I think there was a mouse somewhere in the room. So yeah, this is just fun. You could use a computer inside the computer, and we thought we were so funny with that. It was so much work.
In the game, you can plug in the mouse after turning on the computer.
I think so. I hope so.
That's how you knew it was a computer from the future.
Maybe. Maybe it breaks now. I don't know. Yeah. So it's all about that kind of. Where's the mouse? There's a lot of details in those rooms. For example, I remember you can open these and you can look in. So there's not just, you might think this is one room, but actually the room has lots of rooms inside of it. Like even these cabinets are rooms, and yeah, lots of little things you can do inside. And here you can take things, and I'm sure some of them are later important, but you never know which, so you are always taking everything. But then there is a limit to the capacity.
It's like an RPG.
No. I just found out yesterday when I looked at it, if you have Dr. Hunter in your inventory and you take 2 other things, that it will say, oh no, this is too heavy. Isn't that realistic? Isn't that super realistic? You know how many adventures you can carry so many things around with you. Yeah, anyway, another funny thing about this game is the copy protection. There is this city. Once I'm further into this future city, has what we call vacuum tube connections, like what Elon Musk is building now, like vacuum chamber train system underground, which connects the entire city, and you have these capsules that you enter, and then you enter an address number, and it brings you to a corridor somewhere, a train station somewhere, and the train station connects to a corridor, and that corridor connects to rooms and the rest of the city. And our copy protection was that the city was terribly big, many stops, lots of corridors, and you really didn't find your way through unless you had a manual with a plan. So that's all. You had to really just have a printed manual with a plan of the city to find some locations. If you don't have that, I'm sure there's now a way to find that online now. But this was before the internet. Okay. Okay, maybe you can quickly say, give us a couple of examples of what you later did with KC for our games. What kind of changes you could make to the game with KC?
Well, some of the first things I did was obviously the boarding stuff on Terran Conflict, and a lot of the interface stuff, like the encyclopedia, was all done in KC as well. And of course, the scripting engine that you could use is all done by KC as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a scripting engine is now you are talking about X3 scripting engine and not the X2 scripting engine, which is completely different thing.
No, the X2 one is the same as the X3 one.
I don't think so. Martin, do you?
I think he means the scripting for your ships.
Yeah,
I define logic for ships. This is online.
The stuff Balaji made.
Game editor.
Yeah. But I mean that is running in KC, but it is actually executing already external XML files, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It was just not. It was just not proper XML because it had a lot of binary stuff inside of it. But yeah, anyway, I think that's not so. Yeah, cool. So yeah, thank you for joining. I just you did your you did answer the question. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Skype everybody.
Yeah.
In 2K18.
I don't know if I should show Ketchup Connection because it's another game. The innovative thing with Ketchup Connection is that you had little characters running around. So while in Flies you still basically don't see yourself. You are playing in first person. With Ketchup Connection, it's more like LucasArts. You have little people running around on screen, and we did several such games for advertisement. I can try to show at least one. Let's see if I can get a DOS-box to run. Now these games also are made for DOS for later Windows machines. Just a moment.
Serendipitous.
Now we just wait for for chat's reaction. Appropriate reaction.
I think it was Kraft Ketchup, right?
Yeah.
Didn't something?
Oh, SPD game.
It's just that it's now facing this way.
Apfelschorle, guys. Apfelschorle.
So this is another example of an advertisement game we made, and this one is actually made for a party. The SPD is the German Social Democrats, and we made this for the Euro elections in 1994. And yeah, we worked with an advertisement agency, so we were not directly involved with the. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's got a catchy tune, but it's too loud.
Can people actually see the game? Because unfortunately, I cannot make it full screen. Okay, so again, this is a game with characters running around, and well, it was. Obviously, because it was for a party, it has a lot of political messages. But this was, from our perspective as a developer, one of the nicer customers to work with, because they at least just wanted to have a nice game and then just wanted to get a couple of messages across. So the author of most of the texts who worked at the advertisement agency worked directly together with the party to design the message that they wanted to get across, which in this game is a lot about. Let me have a quick look. Here I have to find where I am currently. So this is the question is you are journalists and you have to find where you are working. So there's a couple of commands and slightly political comments about the different institutions that you see, like the Big Bang, which is of course evil because it's and then there's the big journalists, the big newspaper on that road, which is of course not giving the right news. But then there's this really small publisher on the other side of the road, and that's of course where we are working. But you just have to wait.
Twitch chat is saying, so there is a connection between Martin Schulz and Egosoft.
Oh,
the
yes.
Muslim connection.
Oh yes, yes. It's not that we ever met Martin Schulz or that we have anything to do with the SPD. I do remember. I don't know, Martin. Were you with me when I had to go to the SPD Parteitag?
I think.
Were you with me? I remember vaguely that I was at an SPD Parteitag, probably to show the game. But I don't know if to whom we talked or any politicians.
No, I don't think it was.
No. Anyway, I do remember that the company from Cologne, Tevox, that's the advertisement agency that wrote most of the text, brought us there, and we were supposed to demo the game to a couple of politicians, and and I think the game was given away for free during the Europawahl. And yes, I think the SPD did pretty well in that election, because this is the year Martin Schulz became got into the parliament. So he was elected in, and he later became the parliament president for many years. And the funny thing is, he is the mayor of Würsel. But at the time, we were not even in Würsel, and I've never seen Martin Schulz or talked to him. But it's I just realized recently, when he was Chancellor candidate here in Germany, that this was actually the year that he got into parliament, and that he got quite famous for. Now I'm still waiting for I probably didn't click on something. I don't know what, though. I did see this. I did see that. Finally. Okay, so here's my character sleeping on a table, and then the phone rings, and you have to search the phone, and you find out it's not in the room. It's actually in the trash can in the next room, and your boss will bring it in. But in the meantime, again, here you have a character that runs around in a room, and it zooms. Yeah. So this is the kind of style, and the message of the game is, you as a journalist research some criminals, and it's a little bit about what can be done against criminals, and what would be a good position. Or I haven't actually looked into the game for many years, so let's pick up a couple of things. You can put stuff in your inventory. In this case, it's much simpler than our earlier games, where you had lots of verbs down here to combine complicated or to basically build complicated sentences when you play. In this case, you only have objects, and you only have the verb, so to speak, as an icon on screen. This was I think before Imperium Romanum came out, and Imperium Romanum is like the same technology, but with these on-screen icons and simpler user interface, but for a commercial game. I mean, this is also again about the question how long it took to develop those games. When I say the commercial game was clearly a lot more development work than these advertisement games.
Yeah, in this case, Imperium Roman also, of course, had all the design from us, and
of course.
The Europa game, we had the graphics and the story and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we worked together with a couple of external artists, and from Cologne, I think.
Pick up the phone. The phone's still ringing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I will quit the game. So this is an example of the advertisement games back at the time. And as hard as it was, and as unloved as they were, because obviously we always wanted to work for the real games, the commercial games, which was our ambition, and where all the energy went into. The advertisement games were necessary to make some money, and so yeah, it worked, but it wasn't so great.
It's not really a thing anymore, is it? As well.
I don't know. There were
independent gaming companies that are just starting out. You don't often see advertisement games as a concept. I don't know when that stopped. Really.
I think it still exists. I think I'm thinking about like German railways have some games that you can play on the web. So these advertising games still exist, I think.
Yeah, but they had their heyday in the 90s. That was when there were a lot of ad games coming out.
Okay, this is just a couple of pictures from Imperium Romanum. Imperium Romanum was that adventure, the commercial adventure, our last one before we started with the X series. Really, is it? Yeah.
What year is it now?
This is Imperium 96. Yeah. This is the year for. There was another game that I skipped over now, No Future. Oh, and I want to definitely show that because this is the opportunity to call Simon, so he can say something about No Future.
Baldwin the Penguin.
Baldwin the Penguin. Why are you asking that? Who wants to know?
It sounds awesome. Who is Baldwin?
Oh, this is so zoomed in. This is not so nice. Actually, the graphics in Imperium Romanum are really nice, but this is just a part of the screen. It looks awful here on screen, but it's because the low resolution.
It's true.
Wasn't it the first Super VGA game from Egosoft?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That had more than just 320 by 240, or what was it?
Yeah. I don't know why it's so blurry on those screenshots here. I can't imagine that it's this low resolution. I don't know. It was 640 by 480, and you could I think you could play it in lower resolutions as well, but that was already with much more colors, and it is basically the first game that was natively developed. A commercial game from us that was natively developed for PC, because before Flies was still for the Amiga mainly, and then we made a PC version of it, but this one was made for PC, and therefore it could take advantage of all the higher resolution graphics.
Did Imperium Romanum have voices?
Did Imperium Romanum have voices?
That was around the time when adventure games started having full voices for every character.
Yes, it does. And unfortunately, I didn't get it to run with voices on my emulation here. But that was the Amiga. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pity. Maybe we can do that at another time. I can check. Was the video that I just had, was it with sound? But anyway, it is all in German. So yes, it was with voices, and we had actually pretty good speakers, but it was just for the German market and only in one language, so that also made it easier. Okay, Owen wants to know about Baldwin the Penguin, if that is so interesting. Baldwin the Penguin was one of the one of the last advertisement games that I remember, and it was actually. Wait, maybe I can even show it, because it is Baldwin here. Let's see, DOSBox. You can switch to that monitor again. Oh Gott, Pingu wahrscheinlich, genau. Tada! For the Techniker Krankenkasse. So the cool thing about that game is the input. This was never intended for end customers, so you don't download it or get the disc to home, but it was only used at shows, which was actually pretty common. We did this quite a lot. Trade shows or, I don't know, advertisement agencies wanted to have those games for different kinds of events. And, you can play it with keyboard as well. But actually the main way to play this game was with an actual mat that you stand on. So people were supposed to have some activity, and that's why it was made for a. Let's see, what do I have to press?
A and S or S?
A and S, yeah, okay, I will just try. 1, um einen einfachen Level zu spielen. Okay, I will do that.
Yes, right.
So this is 3D. I walk as a penguin into the screen. Oh wait, huh? Ah, okay. So, but the thing is, you have to walk all the time. And how do I jump? Ah, with space. Okay. It's this intuitive, and you have to also walk all the time to get forward. So, oops.
Oh.
No, I was eaten by a sea bear. But, yeah.
Ice bear.
Ice bear.
Polar bear.
Polar bear. Polar bear. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Owen. Happy?
Yeah.
This is Balduin the Penguin. It's yeah.
Someone in chat says he played that game.
Okay, and did he play it running actually or with the keyboard?
Jacka, how did you play it? When I was a child. Maybe. Answers. Okay.
When Shaq catches up.
Okay. I wanted to show. I definitely have to show No Future because we want.
No Future, Simon will love you.
Yes. Again, DOSBox.
Jake doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember how he played the game.
Yeah. Yeah. You can show the screen again? No, actually I don't. What is it? Future? Future, I guess.
Okay, not bad file. That's usually the first bit.
Okay. And now we call Simon, our expert for this game. Where are you? Oh, wait. Hello, Simon. Yeah.
Hello.
Let me quickly introduce you. Simon is an artist and a great friend who worked for us. I don't know how many years, Simon?
I think it was 5 years.
5 years. Yeah, and unfortunately moved away from us in a couple of years ago, and now works in Berlin, right?
Yeah, freelance. I mean, I work for other companies in other cities and countries, but I am in Berlin. Yeah. But first, let me say happy birthday! 30th anniversary. That's amazing.
Thank you.
It's really, really impressive. I mean, there are so many.
Oops. Sorry.
And all that stuff. So it's really, really impressive to see that you are still there, one of the dinosaurs of the company, of the industry. Really, really cool.
A dinosaur, thank you. Yeah, that's also how I personally feel. But
not a young and fresh dinosaur.
yeah, thank you very much.
Not a dead one.
Like all of other dinosaurs, right? They are also in spirit still alive.
By the way, in X Rebirth, we built these little arcade machines, and I think Alex made a little animation and put the Easter egg book in it. So you can see in X Rebirth, somewhere on these arcade machines in these bars, you can see the game Ook running.
Really? Ook?
Yeah. It's in when you go to the bar interior. It's just before you enter the bar on the left side.
Next to
I
the
remember the arcade machine. Anyway, cool. Thank you for mentioning. Okay, so why do you have a connection with this game No Future? Because it was developed long before your time. How old were you when it came out? What was it?
I don't know. Back then, there was no internet, so nobody had a feeling usually when something came out or something. It was just like someone gives you a disc and you look at this and see a game, and then I mean, at least I had no idea when things were released or something. So I put this in, and I remember that I had my friend Lars, and I was putting many hours together with him. We sat together in front of the PC into No Future, and I think my father got the disc somewhere because it was this free game, and it was for a government and environmental.
Yeah, Bundesumweltministerium. Yes.
Yes, and I don't know, for just randomly we stumbled across the disc just later on, so we put it in, and then we were amazed. Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah.
And And that's the funny story, because years later I start at Egosoft and tell exactly the same story. Oh yeah, back then there was this nice game with this island and this environment and stuff. And I think I was talking to Martin, and then he said, yeah, we developed it. And I was what?
Yeah.
And this was the story.
Yeah, I didn't even check. Did it mention Egosoft on the loading screen?
It had Ego software on the main.
Yeah, but it is unlike some of the adventure games or the bigger games. It doesn't come up with a big logo or something. It actually is. It's a nice game. I also looking back, most of the advertisement games are more like embarrassing, not really something you are proud of. But this one was a bit special, at least. Yeah, it's Please explain, Simon, what this game really is.
Oh, basically you are the mayor of a little island, and at the beginning there are 4 people on this, and it's almost like a little SimCity light or something, but with a focus on environment. So you have to take decisions, for example, if you want to extend a harbor or the airport or something, and if you overdo it and you don't add filters and environmental things to that stuff, I think the car companies could explain it better, or how not to do this nowadays.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, basically it's quite realistic now that I think of it. Then things happening, that you have smog, that you have oil poisoning in your water and stuff like that. And obviously, together with my friend Lars, we maxed out everything and wanted to see all the bad things happening.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, did you see? I'm just playing it here, and I just set the taxation to 20-something% just before, and then people were complaining already. Why are these people living 20-something% and they are complaining? I think that's pretty spoiled.
And I think there was a story I heard that the problem was.
I just unlocked the first technology. Do you see this? Energieversorgung.
Let me change to you guys. I disabled the Twitch chat because of Skype, so to have no interference. But I think Martin told me an interesting detail, because just by the numbers, the nuclear energy is quite most efficient. If nothing goes wrong, and if we just exclude all this waste you have afterwards, right, then the nuclear energy is quite efficient. But the game cannot allow you to build this power plant, and then that's the best solution we have.
Well, yeah.
I can say something to this. Actually, in the original game, there was nuclear energy, but we were told that it would be better to leave this out and not have that hot topic in the game. So there's actually no nuclear power plants in the future.
Yeah, it was controversial. Like this is as always when you work with politicians, like with the game for the SPD, they want to get a message across, and their standing on nuclear power at the point was not clear. Oh, I'm sorry. I just turned it off and on. That's. Yeah, but nuclear power was a controversial topic, so we just later decided to just not have it in.
Okay.
But of course, I mean, it would have been easy to simulate that as well and say, okay, you have nuclear power, you boost your country very quickly up, you have energy for free, but only for 20 years, and then you have a lot of stockpile of radioactive waste, and especially on a small island, it would be actually quite realistic if you have little barrels standing around.
Or that little explosion. Explosion.
So there you hear it, No Future 2 just announced. Bernd already mentioned the new features. Also, the next one, which would be really interesting, is the plastic waste. That could be an interesting topic for No Future 2.
Yeah. Yes.
But actually, I really like the game. Still, when I see it now, I think it works really well, and also I really like the details. We have some pellet rotation, I think, on the water, really nice, right? And how I really enjoyed back then already with my friend Lars, the details like that there's snow on the mountains and these little houses, and I mean it's the same in SimCity or the other games, like observing your city and seeing it change. It's so nice.
Yeah. So what people who are watching me play here, I'm just, of course, not very focused what I'm doing, but I'm just always just reacting to the newspaper clips. Like if you get a newspaper clip that tells you that there's a high unemployment, then I just drag up industry. Industry usually comes with a price, like you are wasting ecology and then you have more waste. So people complain about too much waste, and you, at some point, you unlock a technology for waste. How do you call it? Waste disposal. Different types of technologies. Now I just unlocked. What is this? Transportation. So the whole area of transportation is now there, and of course, like an airport would be the most expensive investment, but everything has its ups and its downs and influences different values. So it's always basically just a balancing game. Oh, people are starving, so I go in here and invest.
Make a street. I really liked the animation. There's a street, there's a little car driving back and forth. It's really nice. And then you have an airport, and you have these airplanes flying around.
I have to raise the text a little bit.
It's huge in the Let's Play scene on YouTube, I heard.
I heard there's some Let's Player that made a very, very successful Let's Play of this game. And everybody should go over to YouTube and watch it.
It's a really. Oh yeah, now there's the street. Oh yeah, it looks so nice.
Okay, thank you very much. I think.
Thank you for having me, and I wish you a really good next 30 years.
Thank you. Hope to talk to you again during those 30 years, maybe.
Would be awesome. Okay, bye.
Bye, Simon. Bye.
Okay. I don't think I have to play this to the end. Actually, the game has an end. I think, Martin, correct me, is it always 100 years or something?
It's a negative end, or I think...
and do I remember it right? You can, yes, basically, here's another technology from the X games. You can, this is Zinza, basically. You can actually make time run faster, right? Yeah. And, time travel. So now you can see the time of year changing faster, and then of course you have less time to react to things. So, and in this case, I can also say if you want to try out this game with a good conscience, it is of course completely free, because this game was given away at schools and for kids. So and I think it can be officially downloaded on some website without any chance that it's illegal. So if you want to try that out, it really runs now on everything if you use an emulator called DOSBox. Okay. And there's one more game before we start with the X games. I think but I'm not. Wait, I think I cannot show it anyway, but I can.
Do we have in total more non-X games than X games then?
Well, it depends on what you count. If you count the commercial games only, then probably, yes, right? We have Fatal Heritage, we have Ook, we have Flies, Imperium Romanum, Hotel Detective. Yeah, it's commercial. So we are at 5.
Pool games.
Oh yeah, Pool, Power. Yeah, that's the one that I wanted to talk about a little bit. It was the last game before X Beyond the Frontier. And we can show it. This is the Spanish box here. Is it on screen?
Yeah, there's something.
Yeah,
this is the Spanish box.
There's a couple of other boxes I didn't actually show before.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the same thing. Yeah, this is this was sold to a company called Data Becker, which didn't really have a reputation of making really good games. Put it mildly. But our billiard game, our pool game, was received very well by the press. They were all surprised that the game was also, especially as a pool simulation, really good, which was not so surprising because we really took the whole ball physics simulation and the rules, not so much the rules, but mostly the actual physics of the ball collision calculations from a computer science professor in Canada, Mr. Grogono, I think he was called. I don't remember right. And he made this really sophisticated simulation, but never had graphics for it. So what he did was just a 2D simulation, which was not really a game. It was just a project for his students. And I found it online. So this is the really, really early days of the internet we are talking here. And then I contacted him and asked if he would be interested in basically working together, licensing us his code, and then we would put our 3D engine on top of it. And I think the whole game was made in a few months. Martin, do you remember how long we worked on it? 3 months, 4 months, something like that. Yeah, and was released shortly before X Beyond the Frontier. But yeah, it was fun. It worked directly. It was pretty good. We even had a little online mode with direct play at the time. That caused a little bit of a problem now in the emulation. Or, well, actually it's not emulation, because this is our first game also that uses DirectX and 3D graphics on Windows, and that's the reason why I cannot use an emulation here to show it. I can actually start it normally, but it has all kinds of problems because it's so early and didn't run with the modern 3D accelerators. So I just don't. Instead, I will jump directly into the first X game, which is
Where reached time X. That's 1999 now, right? Yep.
Yes.
I actually start to have a memory of this. I'm still not playing computer games. I was only 7.
I think I started playing a carrion around that. The original
I was watching my parents playing things like The Settlers and Pharaoh or Caesar, that kind of world building or strategy games.
Let's see.
The first football game was from the last 2 weeks of the project. It was a football game, and we finished that like really, really fast. And then we continued with Demon Knight.
I'm sorry, it takes a moment.
Hi there, Vassingox.
The X just doesn't. It's not in it.
Take warm doing this thing again.
Yeah.
We'll just get past that.
I don't remember this person.
No, not at all.
Maybe I can show a video already in the meantime.
That's really cool how many old names show up again these days.
I'm sorry, I don't know any of these people.
Oh, wait, before we start with the video about X Beyond the Frontier, you can switch to this monitor already. This is a video of what actually happened as a... Oh, wait, I have to turn on the microphone. Sorry, this will be loud again. Wait.
I can mute you first in OBS, you set it on, then I unmute.
I will not touch it anymore. I will just leave it and you mute.
Yes,
you mute
it was loud.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me again?
Yeah,
Okay, great. So this is, I have some problems running X Beyond here with my multi-monitor setup, but before I try that, I will show you a little video of what happened before before X became X. And as I think I quickly mentioned before already, there was a game called Starlight 1 that was this first vector graphic experiment we did on the Amiga. So this is graphics from that, which was, as you saw, partially made on millimeter paper, drawn by hand and stuff like that. So, and everything looks a little bit, looks pretty bad. But just keep that in mind.
Audio on this?
I don't know. Wait, I can, but it's.
It hasn't changed much.
The species.
That space station kind of reminds me like the thing in the game that I applied for a job here with. I had a similar looking rotating space station here that I showed Bernd, you could play around it, and I think that's why I got this job.
All of these species
Character artists.
yet to be input into the X series.
Wow, what's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it opens on the other monitor. No, it doesn't.
They already have some names on the X series.
This guy from this, we know this guy already, right? The guy in the robe.
Yeah.
From Hotel Detective, I think.
I don't think so, but probably just.
Should have some music now.
Lots of yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to shoot.
There's all the buttons. I have nothing to say to that. Oh no, it gets worse.
You don't use this password?
No. Don't use your own.
X-verse.
Even more X.
Oh, probably have the sound of the game now running already.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find a way to get it on the second screen.
We don't have audio yet.
I did hear the audio from X, not from the show, but.
And on Twitch.
Oh, yeah, we're getting something there.
Yeah, but I can't get it to the second screen.
Well, you can only run them on the primary monitor.
Yeah.
Really good, so you have to switch to what's possible.
No, that's not possible. I can't switch the monitors, unfortunately. Okay. I will just show the video with it. So I'm sorry, I cannot play X Beyond live now, but I will. I think the most important thing from X Beyond that I want people to see is actually the intro, because that was really cool and kind of set the mood for the whole X universe, the whole story, the books, everything was based on the story of this game. And even as simple as it was when we started it, it was really. Just the idea of the jump gates and how and why and how people use the jump technology and the jump gates, it's just a couple of vague ideas that later then developed into more and more. When Helge started to work with us on the background story, and then we designed the missions for the game. Later we designed extension based on that, and then basically from a story perspective we built on top of those very vague things, and it became more and more concrete later. So that was really exciting, and you can see the start of it all with that intro. This is all still pre-release. This is scenes from the X Beyond the Frontier rolling demo. Do you remember, Martin, when the XBTF rolling demo was released?
Not really.
But I have something that is pretty cool about the X Beyond the Frontier rolling demo, which is, I don't know, does anybody in our chat even remember this rolling demo?
Some people said they were, yes.
I have, do they remember the music for it? I can play it, wait a moment. If you give me sound.
Some guy has the MIDI file from that rolling demo.
I have a much better version of it. Can you give us sound, Owen?
Yeah.
Does it have sound now? Can you hear this?
You're getting something.
So they can hear this music?
Should do.
This is basically the first X music, and it was.
And mostly hear a bad microphone on. It's very quiet.
Right, I'm boosting it.
What? It's getting louder. Now it's too loud. They never know what they want.
Stop being happy right now.
Sorry. I'll just try. I can call. Chris Hülsbeck, the guy who made this music. But can people hear me? Oh, it's not music too loud. I thought maybe I'll wait.
Turn it down a little bit.
Compared to the music, I'm just really quiet now.
Okay, no, I phase it out now. So I really like this track. So it's very different from the music we have later in our games, obviously, and it had a different purpose. This was not the silent, the relaxed space music, the atmospheric music that basically was made famous or that we made used in all the X games later, but it was the spectacular, typical trailer music. It's a very different intention, and it was done by a good friend from for many years here in Germany, Chris Hülsbeck, who was kind of a celebrity in the early days of for starting already with the C64 and later also on the Amiga. Made lots of great tracks for games. He made this for us, and mostly for the rolling demo. But in the rolling demo, it wasn't as cool as the version that you just heard, because it was to save memory. We were not even able to play like completely recorded music like this, or like an MP3, like what you would do today, but actually play the music on the sound card with MIDI instruments. So it was the same song, but it sounded way different.
It depended on your sound card, how good it sounded.
Exactly, it sounded very different. Actually, I can do that now with the emulator. I can, if in DOSBox you can choose which sound card you have, and then you can go through the different versions of it. Okay, I will jump to the intro of X Beyond the Frontier now and show you that. I hope. No, it's not the intro.
1999 erschienen. Das ist sicherlich der größte Meilenstein.
introduction to this game was the book. I read the book long before I played Bond's Legend.
Interesting.
It does a pretty good job of getting it across.
Can you take the monitor away from
I
it?
remember playing the demo, which has the first part of the game. I think he just could not leave the sector, or he just had like an hour
And
to
on again.
play in the next sector. And I think Caesar is doing so.
Okay.
Yes.
Is this with sound?
Yeah, sound. I don't know what levels.
A dream of freedom within his own universe. A dream of reaching the stars. The first frontier was above the The first target was to reach the moon. Powerful rockets soon challenged this frontier.
Still a lot of background noise. And muted microphones.
However, another barrier soon faced them. The restriction of traveling at the speed of light. For many years, research was undertaken, until man's ingenuity created jump gates. These devices allowed spaceships to travel many millions of light years in one leap. Now man's exploration of new systems and universes could begin. Colonization of new planets was difficult. Adverse planetary conditions, difficult terrain, and the shipping of materials made building difficult and very expensive. Again, research and invention supplied the answer. A powerful robot was created to terraform the planets and construct colonies. Once the terraformers had completed their work, the colonies were ready for man to live in, and many settlers traveled to new lives among the stars. As the years passed, man spread through many different star systems. But during this passage of time, the terraformers began to develop their own intelligence. They began to think for themselves. Secretly, they began plotting against their creators. Suddenly they turned and attacked, plunging man into the most deadly and destructive war ever fought. Man's far-flung colonies were taken by surprise. Many were destroyed in the first attacks, and soon the terraformers were preparing their final attack on Earth itself. Only a small group of brave pilots saved the Earth from annihilation by tricking the larger terraformer fleet into chasing them through a hidden jump gate. Both fleets disappeared, never to return, and the jump gate was destroyed. It took man over 500 years to recover from the destruction wrought by their attackers. 500 years in which man once again was confined to his home planet. But the dream never died. For 10 generations, scientists struggled to regain the stars, and eventually a new type of spaceship was created. This ship, better known as the Experimental Shuttle, is the first ship in which it is possible to bridge vast interstellar distances without the use of a jump gate. The prototype is now ready to be tested.
Hope. Volume okay now? So that was the X Beyond the Frontier intro. And I wanted to now talk a little bit about our community, because that's the other big thing that happened at the time. Immediately after X Beyond came out, I mean, we had the first thing that happened was a forum on the THQ servers, which later moved over to our own servers in I think 1999 already, or 2000, and that started a community of people that helped us work on these games. And of course, not all right from the start. It grew with X2, it grew with X3, but this is also how we got a lot of our later employees and a lot of the people who helped us work on the games from the outside. Modders, you would say nowadays, but at the time that wasn't a term yet. I think people just wanted, we called it the DevNet. And maybe I ask one of the guys who we have here to talk about a little bit about that. Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Lucas. Hi.
Hey, how are you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, indeed. Do you remember when you worked for us? You did start as a little internship here, or did you know the X community already before that?
Yeah, so I kind of found to the games with X2 around 2004, I think, and then started being active on the forums 2005. And of course, first thing I posted, I think I remember, that was a fan fiction, as one does. And I've also been modding the games X2, X3, Terran Conflict since then. And then when I finished high school, I think that was around 2010, 2011, I sent you an email, right? And asked whether there would be anything available for an internship, because I had half a year time before I would be starting university.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you offered me the internship, and I came over. I think it was January, and like within 2 days, I had an interview with you guys, and we talked for half a day. It was really nice. And then a month later, I started in, I think, beginning of February. And I was going to be working on the mission director for Terran Conflict, and helping out with patches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really cool. I'm just showing, while you are saying that, I'm showing a couple of pictures from the XCons. I don't think you joined one of those. We had 2 XCons in, I think, 2001, 2004. That was probably before your time. You said you started with X2.
Yes, actually, it's funny, I remember when I first saw X2, it was the collector's edition at the time, I think. Actually, it might have been before that, I'm not sure, but I was at the store, and I think I came from playing like Freelancer and games like that, and tried X2 for the first time and installed it. I read through the manual, because that's what I did at that time. I read through the manual and looked at the poster, I think was included at the time. It was like this huge blueprint, and installed the game, and then started it, and couldn't figure out anything. So I kind of got really frustrated, and then put it aside, and then just got the itch again and tried it again, put some more time in, and then got absolutely hooked. Like I think a lot of other people have experienced as well. And yeah, no, I haven't actually been to any of the XCons. That was before my time, and I think the latest you guys did was just time-wise I couldn't attend. And I went back actually to play X Beyond the Frontier extension, but it's like, you know, the first game you start with, it's always going to be the one you use as a reference and look back to, and that was X2 for me for sure.
Cool, thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye.
And we have another guy with, well, not a similar history, but also who worked a lot from the community that I definitely want to call. Ketra, be warned, I'm calling you. Does it work?
I did not just believe me.
Sorry?
Too old.
What happened?
It was just buffering the stream.
Oh, sorry. Hi there.
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Hello from Portugal.
Hello from Portugal. See, that's one of the things that I love about this whole community. People from so many different countries. And in your case, unfortunately, we never really have physically met. You also have never been to an XCon, right?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe for the best.
Oh no! I've asked you to visit us so many times, but never did you find any time. It's a real pity. You have to.
Yes, time is always a major factor for us.
Tell us a little bit about your experience. When did you start? With which X game did you start, and what did you do?
Yes, well, my first X game was X Beyond the Frontier. Before the internet, so I played that for maybe one and a half years on one save, and like many of us spent a lot of time drawing maps and layout and how the economy works and where you can make most profits. And then over the years went to play all the other games and started to be involved in the community. Later as a mod on forums, and I'm involved since then.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So
breaking the game mostly.
I mean, I know that you are very interested in the fiction side of the game as well. So, did you know any of the books? Do you know any about or especially the German books? I guess you haven't read either, right?
No, I know the books were mentioned. I never read them, even though I do speak German. But I'm more a visual person.
Maybe you guys can show some of the books. I think we have at least one over there. There's unfortunately Helge couldn't come today because he also is ill. But I wanted to show some of the spin-offs of his book, actually, even because we have one thing that was done, I think, around the release of X3. We even translated several of his books into Russian. Russia was always a very special market for us because I don't know. I think Russia has this special affiliation with space. Alexei can certainly tell us something about that later. And Helge wrote a lot of books. Actually, how many by now? 5, right? We have Farnham's Legend, we have Nopileus, Yoshiko, and then the 2 X3.
Something at the gates.
Yeah, so 5 altogether. Like yeah, Hüter der Tore und Wächter der Erde. I know the German names, but not, there are no English names for them. So we have one of those books translated to English, Farnham's Legend. And just recently I played around with actual AI translation, and maybe we can have some fans help us with proofreading and automatic translation, because they are really becoming really good.
People are asking if you can still get the book somewhere, ebook or in physical shape.
I know somebody actually called for that before here, and I know this is something that especially Helge is asked a lot, because many of the books are now sold out. And with these traditional publishers, this was a company called Panini that released them. It's actually impossible for them to make small quantities again. I think they sold something like 10,000 of each of those books, and they cannot make just 1,000 more or something like that. So what we did is we make some of the books available as ebooks, and there is actually a company that contacted us just a month ago that is interested in bringing the books out again as in smaller quantities. So we can now, there's a good chance we will work with another publisher to make them available again. Maybe at the release of X4, because I mean that probably also makes most commercial sense for them to have this added advertisement. And but I would also really love to have at least fan translations of the of those books into English. And as I said, they are already in Russian. Sorry, Ketra, I interrupted you. I wanted to. You maybe you can tell me a little bit about what aspects of the game you worked on over the years. And
yes, I was always more involved in stuff like missions direct, like Lucas. Coding missions in community projects, for later in Album Prelude. That's my main, my main contribution to the X series was that even though I was modding the game since the reunion, mostly graphical because it's related to my day job. So, but for me, the mission director opened a great door, so I could really break the games because it made possible things that maybe not even you knew. It will be possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean,
as I was saying in the chat a few minutes ago, one of the most hated missions in X games, the treasure hunt. So that was me. So you can blame me.
You want to make friends, huh?
Yes.
No, it's really great what you guys do, and I mean I really love this aspect from the beginning. I don't know, you may not know that, but before the whole mission, the MD kind of mission programming started, we did something called the Quest database already with X Beyond, and that's how this community worked in the early days. That was basically KC code. People, we tried to make modular KC code, and people could write missions in that and actually compile with the KC compiler new story files online on our web server, download them and try missions in the game. So that was a dangerous system for everybody, because we were running a compiler on the website and everything, but it was a very early and experimental version of making missions for the game.
One good thing about the MD is also because I am nowhere close to someone that is called a programmer, so I have no clue about programming. But the MD really was simple, and for me it clicked pretty fast, so it was very intuitive, so I could express myself through it, even not just for missions, but even universe design, and really going deep into the X games, even in places maybe, like I said, maybe not even places one should go.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.
And congratulations, as Simon said, for another 30 years.
Thank you. I definitely hope you visit us sooner than at the 60-year party, okay?
Okay, and we will try that.
See you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.
It's the best definition of MD I've ever read.
Okay.
It's as simple as you want it to be.
I would try to start X2 now and maybe play the intro before.
The 8-minute intro?
No.
Okay.
Not the extension intro.
Oh.
The extension.
One of my favorite starting sequences to any game of all time. Thank you, Marcus.
Yes, that's which one were you talking about? X2, yeah. Not I'm Just a Boy, because
I love the X Beyond it. Right?
Leon Butler, foster son of Noma Gardner. Okay, maybe, yeah. This is the thing, this is Helge. Books are great, and this is maybe too much of the book in the game. We really try to get across a line and get more fiction into the game, and Helge did a great job with writing this. But we sometimes some things work better in games and some things work better in books. And
it's better to try something out. I mean, I don't know how well it was received at the time. Nowadays, well, this is live. Nowadays, a game probably can't get away with an introduction like that.
It's very live. With sound. Okay, so let's have a look at the intro for X2.
This was my first X experience. Literally the first experience. Literally the first thing from the X series that I saw.
Can we hear you guys over? Depends on the sound. They should be louder there. This itch was long enough to go to the toilet.
Okay, here we go.
Registration confirmed.
That's the one. I hope you didn't get too rusty since last was over.
Anything.
Wie schwer das zu machen war. Wie oft hast du das Intro gesehen, während du es entwickelt hast?
I think I watched the intro maybe 3,000-4,000 times. And some things that you would not expect were the hardest, like for example the black bars and boxes, and having the picture appear in different places. It took us quite a while to get that right. And then I wanted to have explosions, and we couldn't do triggered explosions in the game yet. So I just made a little asteroid which had an explosion effect, and then I had two asteroids and animated them together, so they collided and exploded, and you never see that, but all the explosions in the intro are two small tiny asteroids that collide to trigger the explosion.
You make your way back and take the Basama. I'm not in the mood.
Actually, some pretty nice camera work here.
This blew my mind. This game came out when? 2002? I was 10 years old. This really blew my mind.
The style was a bit influenced by 24, because that was popular at the time, and where we took. We're just missing the events occur in real time.
I think it's like a big step from its graphics wise.
Yeah.
And this was.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think we were one of the first games worldwide that had bump maps in a game.
Yeah, because it was,
maybe we were even the first
fixed pipeline bump, I think,
I remember when I started working for Egosoft, I was kind of like asking if we couldn't maybe have that new tech bump mapping, and nobody actually knew what it was. And
Markus is always pushing the bounds of graphics engines here in the company.
Is that what nowadays just called normal mapping, or is that an evolution of bump
Bump
mapping?
and normal mapping is the same thing more or less.
Is this jetzt in Schatten? Are there shadows turned on? I'm not sure. I think the X2 engine, that's another of those improvements, graphical improvements had.
It does have proper light sources.
This is.
I'm not sure if they are turned on, no.
Doesn't look like it.
No, you see at least local lights here.
Now I maybe have to turn it on in the graphic settings.
This really is.
Can people hear us?
Yeah.
Ferrari is listening.
Yeah, each individual shot and each bullet had to be scripted in those cutscenes. I also remember that.
Yeah. When I see this video, I always have to think of the TV shows we were watching at the time with Jack Bauer. What was that called?
24. Just talked about that. 24 was an inspiration for the black bars and layout.
Yeah, the shaky cam with the zooming and stuff, that actually reminds me of Battlestar Galactica, but that was way later.
Yeah, that was
well, the remake was later.
Yeah, I mean the remake.
When was Galactica?
The new TV series started in 2006.
then it was later. But that was the other thing we always watched in the office. I remember we watched 24 and we watched Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. Okay, the faces. That's the only video part. This is pre-rendered.
Prepare a disco immediately. Not yet.
Do you remember the pain in animating Bandana sitting down on a chair and Julian's chair in front of him? This is the end of this intro.
But that was not the worst scene. There's another scene. I still sometimes dream of that when I wake up with cold sweat and I just hear, Brennan's hammer.
Isn't it? The Kona Temple cutscene, yes. Yes. People don't realize how awful testing a game can be when you have to retest the same scene over and over and over.
And in that case,
it's your dreams.
In that case, it was a cutscene that I don't know was 3-4 minutes long, and whenever you work on it, you have to export it, and then you of course have to watch the entire thing, and then you iterate over it and improve it and introduce new bugs and fix those again, and so you end up watching it hundreds of times.
Yeah. And I mean, what you can see here also. By the way, this part was done by Tobias, right? I think
the buildings, yes.
The buildings, at least part of it was done by Tobias. And I think this is also pretty cool, the whole cityscape stuff.
Was it X2 that had the mission that had you fly in through a city?
No, that was X3.
X3, okay.
That was Reunion.
Right.
That had that mission. I remember because my dad was testing it hundreds and hundreds of times.
I want to, because
Planet landings, oh god.
The intro continues in game. This was basically, and here starts the stuff where we were not good at. This is really, we also didn't have anybody in the company that was capable of animating characters at the time.
No.
So we were working with different people trying to find solutions. How can we do characters? And you can tell, of course. This is whenever you see characters animated on screen, it was not so great. But
Really, the camera movement and the framing of shots is really, really good.
I mean, another really nice thing about X2 that I liked very much was all the freedom and capabilities with all those monitors. That was pretty unique. The virtual monitors, you had so many different modes. I remember playing it with a Matrox. No, not Matrox. The other the company with the high resolution graphic accelerators early on already. One of the first ones that allowed more than 2 monitors. And that
might have been the Matrox.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just remember that we had a special mode for multi-monitor setup with X2. This is unfortunately wasn't easy to bring forward in the X3 game. So every X game has something unique, but this is pretty unique in X2. All of those little extra monitors you could configure. I think with one screen you could have I think 3 on the side and 2 additional on top, so 5 monitors and 1 big one.
Yeah.
So 6 screens in total.
Yeah.
And then you could configure them to cockpits of different ships and
turrets. I think you could still control turrets.
Or external cameras.
Target camera, all that.
Yeah. Whenever you see characters,
it's not that bad.
For the time, it was not that bad.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
now of course, but we're talking of a difference of at this point 14 years.
14 years. Yeah.
There's been a lot of developments in that
These
time.
were also not the worst character animations in the game. I remember one cutscene.
Later, I think.
Manager's office.
Yeah.
Where she tries to blink and it looks really strange.
Okay. Well, I remember that. See his shoulders, see his arms,
his proportions.
I remember really bad things that happened to those arms in the meantime. We had so many iterations with that.
Some really
the way he sits down when he tries to sit down.
I think
some really old backup folder I still have videos of
outtakes, yeah.
what happens when they turn into like octopus-like creatures.
Suddenly.
And also no lip animation, right? Because he's turning into the looking at space, so you don't have to animate the face.
Oh, now the lens flare goes through his head.
Yeah. I never
should
noticed
patch
that
that.
before.
No, wait,
I
we've got
never
other
noticed
things to
that
do.
before.
Really?
It's been a long time since I played X2.
But I remember that actually here we had definitely shadows, because that was one of the cool things with this scene, that we had a sun illuminating the room with those shades actually. Oh, see how natural. Now you will sit down.
Yeah, we cut off the legs because.
Yeah.
Because the legs.
Julian. Oh. Yeah, we should have just cut to them sitting. It would have been. This would have saved us so much work if we should have just cut to them sitting already. Yeah, X2 was cool nevertheless.
Yes, very good game.
There it is.
There it is.
Prepare a disco immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should cut to X4 now. I think that will give a good impression.
Actually, seeing that, I like the style of the titles. I think we should do them the same way in the next game. Not have them middle of the screen on the bottom, but in the corner with that nice frame. I think that looks nice.
Yeah. Okay. I think.
Schedule it up.
Do you want to play a little bit, Owen? Yeah, go ahead.
Findest du nicht?
I still think this has another 5 minutes left to go.
No, it's not.
The character, the actual dialogue starts soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one option already.
There were options.
Okay.
That's not proper blinking.
At least it's not one eye after the other.
The close-up of the head is okay-ish.
I've seen
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing where he doesn't even close the eyes.
If anybody understands what
Sure.
You can skip.
Microphone I've been thinking that the entire time been sitting here.
It's almost done.
The microphone is buzzing really loud.
That's probably the engine.
Oh, no. It seems to have recovered. I don't know.
It's
It's still very still buzzing.
Character options, dialogue.
Okay, now it's good. But now as in 30 seconds ago.
I'm not commenting on this scene. Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
Yay!
Game time.
Oops. Oh, your turn.
Time to see Xenon Slayer go to work.
Yeah,
Like last time.
Reject.
find the Xenon in Argon Prime. Yeah.
What's the hotkey for ejecting?
Yeah, what happens if I do that during this cutscene? Oh, do I really want to try and break the game? right now?
No.
Does the microphone have some kind of auto leveling? When you're talking, it's okay, but as soon as you're quiet, it scales up and it gets really buzzy. Okay. So you're trying to pick up something.
You just have to keep talking.
Yeah.
Or disable, what's it called? Automation puzzle.
Can't hear anything.
Maybe in the meantime, you can already.
Or you can buy and other. Memories.
When I go back to X2, I'm really struggling with the control scheme because you have this direct input, especially with the mouse now.
I was looking for the strafe button, but we don't have that yet.
Strafe wasn't the thing in X2 what you needed to upgrade your ship for.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Switch.
Alright, let's make some money.
docking music.
I can hear it, even though I can't hear it.
If you want to see more X2, Twitch/Demon Slayer.
Shameless plug.
I try to call Chris Hills back again.
We definitely need to call CBJ.
Yeah, no, maybe one game later when we're running out of time.
How late is it?
9:30.
Okay.
Hi, Chris.
Hey!
Long time no speak. So here's the guy who made that music. What?
You can hear me okay?
I hope so. Is it okay on the mic? I think so.
It was before, so it should be okay now.
Yeah, I think we can hear you. So I don't know when you I think you were not on the machine when I played your music. It was the X Beyond the Frontier rolling demo where I played it. Also, actually, I think you made some music for us already many years earlier, but this was under a different name. So because you were not allowed to use your real name for that, but
right.
yeah.
And now I can actually talk about it. So I joined the GEMA, the German performance rights organization, in 1991 when I released my first album. And that turned out to be pretty much a nightmare. I mean, I thought like, oh, you need to be a GEMA member to be when you're played on the radio and this and that. But immediately, like, I had trouble with the games industry because there was just, I don't know, the GEMA was like stupid the way they approached the games industry in the beginning. Instead of easing in, they put out these draconian rules. And ultimately, that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
And since 2014, I'm not a GEMA member.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So yeah, do you remember the X rolling demo? I mean, you made the music for us, but I don't even know if you did you ever see the game or the rolling demo?
I don't think I did. I may have seen some photos or something, or screenshots, stuff like that. But I mean, you have to remember, back then we did not have the internet like today.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like exchanging data with like, modems and whatever.
Physically even transporting media. Yeah.
It's crazy, yeah. And I don't remember that much from that time anyway. It's kind of like a blur. Everything that happened like mid 90s to the end of the 90s were kind of like a blur.
Ah, yeah, musicians, drugs, right?
Yeah. There was a lot going on, and so I don't even know how many titles we worked on together, but that X Beyond the Frontier is actually really a piece that I'm quite proud and happy with. And I hope to give it some second life at some point. Maybe it should be updated to 2018 standards or something.
That would be really cool. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure some people who are listening to the stream know you also from your famous music pieces for the C64 and the Amiga that you also brought to symphony orchestras, right?
Yes, exactly. Now that would be the ultimate dream for this piece to have it performed with a real live orchestra.
Mm-hmm. I've seen you with an orchestra in Cologne. I don't know when that was, a couple of years ago.
That was 2009, I think. I was there as well.
Okay, with
it was 2008. The Symphonic Shades.
Mm-hmm. That was cool.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
That was a very cool concert, and there have definitely been, wishes and ideas to, have a second one of these types of concerts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someday we can all dream about it.
Yeah.
I love the Tunnel B1 rendition. That one was like 10 minutes long. That guy with the awesome drum solo.
Right. Yeah, Tunnel B1 was another game that I did in the mid to late 90s. and that was also pretty cool.
That wasn't that still with Kaiko, with the company Kaiko, or was it already later? Because I mean,
no, that was after. I was already freelance, self-employed there, but it was made by people who had affiliations with the old Kaiko crew. So the Neon team was Peter, our programmer. He joined them after Kaiko.
Yeah, that's why I remember. I mean, this is how we stayed in touch for many years, was mostly through the cinema in Langen. I remember that is one of the things that I remember through the Blur. Always driving to Frankfurt area just for one movie on, I think it was Thursday nights.
It was Tuesdays actually, but the thing is that was actually a really nice thing to have in Langen. It's a small town. I mean, what is it, like 40,000 people live there, and they had this weekly event called the Sneak Preview, where they showed a brand new movie, but you wouldn't know what you would be shown. And they had some. I mean, I think the ratio between really good movies and bad movies was actually really good. Maybe every 3 or 4 movies was a dud, but the rest were like top flight movies that were coming out, and so it was always a very well received event.
I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of bad movies that I saw at that time, but I always enjoyed going there just to meet you guys, and also the Factor 5 people and some others that went there. It's always like a cool meeting.
Those sneak preview nights were legendary.
Maybe you can quickly tell us a little bit about what you are doing now.
Oh yeah, so I'm still working doing game soundtracks, of course, but a little bit on a smaller scale these days. It's mostly independent projects. I've been freelance since 2009, just after the American Factor 5 company went under. And so yeah, I've done a bunch of very nice projects in the meantime. I mean, after the Factor 5 time, I worked on a number of projects that were very well received, including Black Forest games, the Jana Sisters Twisted Dreams, and there are a bunch of other ones too. So, but these days I'm like more focusing directly on my fans. I've done 4 successful Kickstarters. The last 2 was full orchestra recordings of Turrican music, which was also extremely well received, and I'm right now actually finishing up. I'm going back to my roots, kind of. I'm working on an Amiga bonus album for that last Kickstarter, so where I make actually music with my original Amiga tools, and it will be like
TFMX, is it called?
Kind of like a virtual Turrican 4 soundtrack. So what would Turrican 4 have sounded like if there was another episode in the mid-90s or something? So that's what I'm working on right now. And then also also going back to working directly with my fans is I started a Patreon crowdfunding project where I do like single music pieces, usually once a month, that I deliver to my fans directly, and I have made that project now royalty free. That's also a cool thing. So everything that I release there, everybody can use in their Twitch or YouTube channels, or even in a game or a commercial project, doesn't matter, as long as they give credit to where the music came from in that Patreon project.
Cool. Yeah, I will post the link to your Patreon or directly to the project on later. Then people can check that out. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm really enjoying seeing the old games here and seeing the timeline of the development of how it evolved.
Yeah, we are getting old. Talking about dinosaurs in the industries. At least I'm not the only one here, right?
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll stay in the chat, okay?
Okay,
if
bye.
anybody has questions for me, you can chat with me.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, Baron. Bye.
Do you think we could perhaps have some light?
Oh,
yeah. Starting to get that. Thank you.
So, Owen, are you playing the game through?
I made a bit of profit. Lost some shields trying to pick up a crate. Must have had something huge inside.
Yeah. So that's X2.
Yeah. The interiors of the stations.
Yeah.
That was always fun to search around in.
Can you show the monitors?
Yeah.
I think this machine should be fast enough for the maxed out version of the maxed out monitors with everything. I know this was always a big performance problem because it was quite kind of crazy to have up to 6 completely different renderings of the same game running at the same time.
Wait, we can have that many?
We could, yeah. There was a mode where you could have 6 altogether, 5 around the screen and then a bigger one.
Oh right.
On one monitor.
Yeah, monitor layout. Go to that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You can map them to external cameras. Of course, it all makes most sense very late in the game when you have capital ships, and you can even map all the different turrets to different monitors. Yeah, like this. This is super cool. And then you can activate them directly. It's a bit of a pity that this game didn't have the fancy controls that we have nowadays with our new menus and mouse cursor control. This would even make more sense now. But of course, this is a big. You also have to see the downside. Of course, here it's not a problem. But we are now running the game on a 2018 machine, a game from 2004. So now it doesn't make a problem, but back then it did, and people always complained about performance with our games in general when they came out. So you have to see this in perspective. So that is also part of the reason why we don't go this crazy overboard nowadays.
Yes. I think this is related to the first bug report I ever sent in, and that was to CBJ. I think if you connected to one of the monitors, took control of the ship, then opened the menu and then did it again, it would crash the game. And that was like my first step into game development, or helping with the X series. CBJ fixed it.
Talking about. Let me ask him.
Let's have a look in here. I turned the game down. Oh, I guess I'll turn it down again.
Hi there.
Hi.
You sound excited to be online.
Sorry, I'm not used to it.
Hi, Chris. I think you are so famous in the whole community. Everybody knows you, and I mean, you have to start from the start. Tell us a little bit when did you join and in what role and what did you do?
Okay, I first saw the X Games back in when XBTF came out. I was at work and I didn't do any more work the rest of that day, and nor did half the rest of the office because they were watching me play it. I started doing DevNet stuff a year or two later. Got involved with forum moderation, and then one day I stopped doing the work that I was doing before, not because I've been sacked, because I've been playing X Games, and offered to do some bug fixing. This was around the X2 patches, so about 1.3 or something like that, and various bugs were being reported, and I fixed a few things in KC code and submitted them, and it seemed to work. And I think it was about 2001 that I actually
Well, wait. If you fixed X2 bugs, then it must have been after 2004.
Yeah. Sorry, no, 2005. It was that I came to see you in person for the first time, and started working on X3. Got into the core C++ code, and I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah, really. I mean, you are such an important team member nowadays. It's really crazy, and it started really as a community helper, so to say.
Yeah,
just like with you, Owen, as well, right?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, I think in fact, what happened, I seem to remember, was that Owen came to the office for a team meeting about X3 Terran Conflict, where we brought in a whole load of DevNet guys and people who'd been working on mods for X3 Reunion. And we all came to the office for a big discussion about what features we could put into Terran Conflict. And I remember talking to Owen on the train on the way back to the UK and trying to persuade him that perhaps he'd like to actually come and join us properly.
I had nothing better to do. I was about to come out of college, had no plans.
Yeah.
I was working at the co-op. So, thank you.
No, thank you. I have to thank you for persuading him. Thank you. Yeah, this is really incredible. The whole community aspect really turned out so well. This is really what the game has become. I mean, it was this. You can really see that also in the videos. If you see where X started, this Starlight 1 thing at the very beginning. I mean, that wasn't X. It was a totally different code base as well. But it is so primitive, and it grew really thanks to the fans. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that's happened a number of times over the years with people sort of getting more and more involved in it, and we still rely very, very heavily. I mean, as people are probably aware, we're a small team. We don't have dedicated testers in the Egosoft team. We still rely very heavily on DevNet to help us with that. I mean, we quite often get people on the forums saying, what you really ought to do is to involve the community in testing and in translation and things. And I have to sort of remind them that we've been doing that for about 15 years, long before things like early access on Steam came out.
Yeah, this is something that I am asked probably the most about X4. Like, when do you start an open beta or a beta with more people? I mean, we do of course start a beta, but the problem is always too early. It doesn't help. It doesn't really help if we ourselves don't have that status yet. But beta testing is really only for me, is only the smallest or one of the smaller aspects of the community. It's really this involvement in story aspects. We have these writers that write their own stories. Like, do you remember Darren Estlers, the admin for a long time also? And
absolutely, Steele.
Yeah, Steele. He wrote also a book about. Basically his own side of a story in the X universe, and so many cool things always. Also videos.
We also had some serialized on the forums with people doing Dead is Dead campaigns and telling us, showing people what they were doing and giving updates every week about what they've done and so on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that reminds me, I will probably call Richard next, because that's another example. our video expert nowadays. Thank you. Did I forget anything of the highlights? Oh, wait, Albion Prelude. Maybe we have to mention that quickly, because you talked about that meeting with external community people working on the game, where we actually invited people that worked on mods, worked on expansions for the game, and then we invited them and we basically made a game together with them. And that happened again with Albion Prelude, right?
Yeah, even more so. I mean, a good 50% of the work for Albion Prelude, not just the ideas, but the actual development happened with DevNet involvement. So we had people writing writing the code. We had people like Matt that you spoke to earlier. We had people like Ketra doing story. We had all the translations are always done that way. But the whole project was a collaboration between the team in the office, or a small number of people from the team in the office, because obviously most of them were working on Rebirth, and a big group of DevNet people.
Yeah.
It worked really well. I mean, it's that was very popular.
It's
way of working.
Yeah, it's always easy to see where our company works best, and as a team, that's always when we have an established platform and we can involve the community more closely to make the next thing. That was, of course, not possible so much that isn't possible so much when you work on an entirely new thing, and sometimes you have to do that to bring up some innovation. But I'm really looking forward to the moment when we have a game and then can work with the community again.
Yeah, I mean that came up. That's been very obvious with the feedback from the public betas that we've had for Rebirth, that we were able to go back into that mode of working with people again, and that helped a lot.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the years.
No problem. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
And I want to call Richard as well, but maybe we can switch to another game in the meantime.
Yep.
If you are playing X2 for too long.
Yeah, I'll just go out in a blaze of glory here. There's a lot of enemies here, so... Oh, we get to see one of the cooler ships, the Behemoth. It's the one that looks like a pirate. It's got the 4 lasers there.
Oh, I remember
texturing could be improved, I would say.
I remember capturing one, entering it, and immediately leaving because the cockpit sucks. And there's a flip in the middle that makes it hard to look out.
Yeah.
But it's from the outside, it's a cool and novel looking ship.
That's a pirate ship, right?
Yeah.
And people were always complaining why the pirates look that way. You find it one of the coolest ships? I remember a lot of criticism for this kind of design.
It was heavily based on the extension design as well, that cross with the 4 lasers either side.
Yeah, but it's always so much different opinions. That's the problem with listening to opinions on design is hard, because especially visual design, everybody has a different
It's
opinion.
one of the few games where a design had carried over though, because usually if you have a look at the Orinoco in extension and then in X2, I think they look rather different.
But you know a game where we try to keep true to older designs, Owen? A more recent game that we are working on?
Stays on that.
Yeah. Lilo maybe can talk a little bit about that. But I will show...
We should have had 2 streams.
So we already got to this point here, and maybe before I call the guy who was in charge of this, we already talked a little bit about Albion Prelude as well, and Terran Conflict and X3, and of course now we are jumping a lot of years ahead. But I mean, it's getting late already, so I want to definitely talk to Richard, who helped a lot working on videos for all the X3 games, I think, at least starting with Terran Conflict, and who also worked on Albion Prelude really as a team member, also making the not just the promotion trailers, but also the intro of the game. So maybe quickly show that. Does it have sound?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wait, no. It does not have sound right yet.
Well, maybe she's just breathing, I think.
There we go.
Nice to talk to you again.
Yes. Before we start, though, can I say I love the hair?
What? What hair? What are you talking about? I just don't have any money to go to the haircutter before X4 is finished.
Well, last time we met, you was a nice clean cut, but now you're looking like you're
about to audition for a Lethal Weapon film.
Oh, thank you. No, it's just the money. I tell you, I'm running out of money for the haircutter. You have to save somewhere, and we have to finish X4. Then I will go.
Crowdfunding.
Yeah. No. Just finish the game faster. Do you remember the video we are looking at?
Yes, I remember it fondly, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is really great. And also, I'm sure I'm sure some of the people on the stream have questions about the pretty lady at the beginning and how that scene was filmed. Maybe you can tell us something about that.
Well, when I came to visit you guys, we discussed some ideas of maybe a live action, and I just got a brand new DSLR camera, and really wanted to try it out. So a guy who I used to work with, his sister is like an amateur actress, and obviously got in contact with her, and she fitted the role really well, so props up to her.
Yeah, not just, it's really excellently done. I mean, this really was very unusual for us, especially when you consider how we were struggling with character animations before, and here we are with a live actor. It's really really cool.
Yeah, it was actually my first time using a green screen. I went out, got a green screen and some cheap lighting, and this was the result. It's not too much live action, but it's enough, I think, for the intro.
Exactly, it's perfect. I think this is a really nice mixture of different techniques. Also here, this is basically a painting, right? I mean I just looked at the planet surface part where you look up in the sky. I mean, most of it, of course, that's what we are. Our strong point always for videos are, of course, the space scenes, which we always capture in game. We usually don't render anything, even though you can of course get a slightly better quality sometimes with rendering, but we show the game as it is, maybe improve it a little bit, but most of it is really live gameplay footage. But I think this is a really nice mixture of a couple of different techniques.
Yeah, well, the X games have always been a good thing and a bad thing. I can never play them properly because every time I try and play an X game, the ship would just turn into a camera. I would end up with 50 gig of footage on the computer, and you'd just have to make a video out of it, and that's how it all started.
Yeah, that's cool. That's why we love you. You have to continue doing that, actually. And when was your first X game? When did you start?
It was X3 Reunion. Actually, not long after buying the game, I created a YouTube channel and just started making videos of the in-game scenes and that, because I was just blown away by how freely you can move around with the camera and how good the scenes looked, how film-like. And at the time, I was heavily into my trailer music, and it just all come together into a lot of videos. And some of the videos are very popular, reaching over 200,000 views. So obviously, people must have liked them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm showing a bit of X Rebirth material here, where that was, I think this B-roll from X Rebirth was also done by you, and it was the source for lots of our trailers for X Rebirth and for Terran Conflict, for Albion Prelude. This is awesome work. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I love doing the footage in X Rebirth. I mean, it just brought a whole new level to the visual quality of the videos, and we really upped the game on the trailers when X Rebirth came out.
Yeah, and I know this is always controversial to talk about because there's a lot of X3 fans who don't like X Rebirth very much, but after all of the way the game is now, I still like the game. It's different, and I can understand that people who are those hardcore X3 fans have a lot of criticism for certain things, and I totally respect that. I mean, there's always different opinions about games, but it's beautiful, and it's not so deep. It's a different
it's
game.
Very immersive. I find it a really immersive game. And when you guys launched XDR, that was just the icing on the cake. I personally like X Rebirth. I've done quite a few videos on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining.
Problem.
Hope I can repeat that every time. I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, maybe some X4 footage coming up soon.
Yeah, maybe. We will see. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Talking about X4, I think we have to hurry up. I'm jumped to X Rebirth already, and I maybe also can quickly show again X Rebirth VR. I mean, I've skipped over a lot here, but maybe I can quickly just where is it? I had. Of course, in the years, there's not just X Rebirth. X Rebirth was 2013. We had Terran Conflict was 2008. Then Albion Prelude was 2011, and 2013 Rebirth. But that gives a wrong impression if I just say the numbers like that, because we have been working on Rebirth so much longer than we worked on the other games. It was actually the development of X Rebirth started right after Reunion in 2005. So Terran Conflict and Albion Prelude were done in the middle of it, kind of, and they were immensely useful for us for financing us as a company. We wouldn't be here anymore without those two games, and X Rebirth wouldn't have made the light of day, and X4 wouldn't have. But this is it was just an immensely complex project for us with way too many new things at once. New technology, new graphic engine, new AI, everything, and the assets, of course. Yeah, so that was really what caused a lot of problems for us. But I can really say that with X4 we have been really comfortable with the development after that, because what we've been doing since 2013, we are working on X4, and it was again much more that typical that kind of development that we like to do. We had a platform, the technological platform of Rebirth, and merged it with the gameplay things from the X3 games that we knew people wanted, but we just didn't have any capacity and time to put in. So we've been just happily working with a stable platform since that time, and improved it and made a really cool game. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys more of X4. We can't show an awful lot today because we want to keep something more for closer to the release, but that will not be long anymore. But I will show you a little bit, and I want to call Alexei for that, our musician, who has, as you probably all know, been working on the X music for a very long time. He can probably tell us best exactly how long. Oh wait, I just...
Hello guys.
Hello Alexei.
Hello world.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Watching the video of the stream.
I'm sure you must be happy because you are a football fan, right?
Yeah,
and
they're missing the football.
and as a Russian, you must be very happy about your team, right?
Yes. We are already qualified. So.
I'm rather happy as well.
You're rare. I cannot say that. Yeah,
Iceland, go.
Iceland? Okay. Yeah, Okay. So maybe you tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you first learn about an X game, and when did you start joining us?
Oh, I think it was starting from the X Beyond the Frontier. That was the first game, and I was blown away completely because that was the first game after my first experience on ZX Spectrum when I see Elite, and that was the first game that gave me the same experience, and I was wow, oh, that was great. And after some time, I think it was in 2003, it was the first time my music was aired. It was a running demo of X to the Threat.
I think this was the first time my music was used in the game.
Yeah, I always liked the type of music you made because it fits so perfectly to these atmospheric sector music. I mean, we need a lot more atmospheric music than melodic music, and I know you as a musician, you probably want to do more melodies and themes and stuff like that, but because you can't play that when you play for hours in a sector. So is that right? How do you feel about what type of music do you love to make most?
Yes, that was my most concern, because my problem is that I really like to make melodic and a lot of I like to put a lot of melodies in my music, but when I started to work with the sector music, it was some kind of experience and some kind of a journey, and it was so hard for me to do that because it was I don't know how to explain it. It was hard to make my melodies underneath. Place them underneath these ambiances. So, but I also used my melodies a lot, but they should be played underneath these ambient sounds. But I still use a lot of melodies, and I think that everybody and the community knows that.
Okay, I'm now playing X4, and people. I just want to focus on one little aspect of the game today. As I said, I will not show a lot of new features or anything, but I wanted Alexei to tell us a little bit about what he's working on now, which is not so much music nowadays, but more other things, mostly sound effects. And so I want to. Owen, is the sound for the game now up? So I don't know if this works well, that you can talk over it, because I want the sound to be really loud. Because one of the things that I love most about the new sound atmospheres, I think everything is much better. Alexei is really spending a lot of time and effort on all kinds of sound effects, and it really pays off, in my opinion. But one really cool thing is when you fly past objects, you can hear basically like an echo, Matthias, is that right? How you worked on that part, right?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a sound that plays when you fly past some big object and it plays in the direction you're coming. It's kind of like you hear the echo of your engine. Of course, it doesn't make sense in space, but it's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, sounds in general. I mean, of course,
it really adds to the feeling of flying fast near a station.
Yeah. It does. And Alexei, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the differences in sounds and sound work to your work now with your work on earlier games.
Okay. To be honest, now the sound is much more complex. It's all also regarding the engines of the whole ships we have, because every ship and every engine type have different sounds.
We're taking a small amount of fire from a ship.
Every engine also
we cannot tolerate acts of violence against
sources and a lot of layers in it. So maybe people just can listen to the game and understand and hear how it sounds currently, because I can speak about that in hours, but people just have to listen to it, not just listen to me.
The sound effects really speak for themselves. You just have to listen to the game, and we will do that. We will do that more in the future and in videos, actually better than in streams, if we just focus on individual features of the game. And we will really do that very soon. But as I said, we cannot show too much today. But stay tuned. Thank you, Alexei. And again, one more time, hope to speak to you more very soon, and thanks for everything you did for us.
Thank you, and again, like everybody said, it's a happy anniversary. And it was a really journey to be with you for these years, and Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so yeah, I think we are reaching the end of our stream.
Yeah. External view?
External view?
Yeah.
Und dann?
Yeah, let's blow some minds.
Is that people wanted to see it? Okay.
What?
People wanted to see external view.
Oh, okay.
Das Cockpit näher sein von außen.
Okay. Actually, I can maybe wait. I can show it best if I do actually this. No, this is a different external view mode in which I just stop. Yeah, I just drop. Oops, I didn't want to. Wrong hotkey. Oops. And oh, sure, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, but okay, the other thing.
Wait, I don't think people actually noticed the guy in there.
Yeah.
Maybe point that out.
Wait, now I see, and now I got up from the chair, right? So now, oh wait, I show him standing up, so, and go as close as I can to the window. Maybe then they can see me better.
So many spoilers.
Now I have. What's the button for the wave emote? No. No, I cannot. Of course, if I'm standing behind the chair, then I cannot control the ship.
For the sake of simplicity, for those who weren't.
See, there's a guy. Can you see it?
For the sake of simplicity, for those who weren't there when we confirmed this on stream last time, the player has a character now.
Yeah.
This is something that we were working on for a little while. Each character is different in different game starts because they all tell their own story.
They're also different heights, so if you walk around, you sometimes see very small if you're a Taladi.
If you're a Taladi, you're shorter than if you're a Paramount.
Yep.
For example.
But fortunately, you can still reach the controls of the ship.
Yes,
and
we
fly.
made everything small enough that everyone can reach it.
Okay, yeah, I think the stream was really long enough today.
Oh yeah, but
much longer than it was intended.
3 hours, 20 minutes, not bad.
Yeah, so thank you everybody who joined us and listened for such a long time. And yeah, hope to see you again soon.
Cool, can we have... Oh, wait, there.
Yeah, let's get it.
Can we have this camera?
Yeah.
Thanks guys for being here.
Owen cannot end the stream and he's here to wait.
Stream!
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Bye, everyone. You had to put that in.
Not a football cap, it's Ferrari.